Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Hey, I'm squeaking.
What was that?
I was like Bobby Brady. Along with Dustin Fox and Mikey McNuggets, I'm Adam the Bull. We've got Steve. We've got Anthony on the other side of the glass, and a lot to get to today. We've spent the last basically 15 minutes off air having a conversation about whether the Browns are the worst team in professional sports, the worst franchise.
Just like all time?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking specifically since '99.
Yeah, modern history.
In modern history, I mean, it's hard to argue. They have
I don't know anything about the NHL, so I'm sure there's teams.
Just baseball, football, basketball.
Okay,
None of us know the NHL well enough to know. But if you look at the three main sports that we talk about, they have the worst winning percentage since '99. Now, in fairness, it's a little easier to have a worse winning percentage in football than the other sports because there's so many games, and the nature of those sports teams win more. But they've also won the least amount of playoff games, tied with the Dolphins, believe it or not, one playoff win since '99. It's just, I mean, just the way things are now, the Browns have no hope. I mean, obviously the Jaguars have been really bad. We know in basketball, like Sacramento's been really bad. The Wizards have been really bad. So those teams, I guess, are right there, but I don't know.
I would also say that those other organizations, although they're very bad, the Browns have had so much more baggage to go along with the bad play on the field, too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Obviously, like the Commanders had a ton of baggage, too, but they just went to the title game in the NFC. So, it's hard to argue otherwise with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
And in other sports, one transcendent player can give you a couple really good years. And in football, if it's not a quarterback, the transcendent players just don't matter nearly as much. And you look at Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett, that hasn't translated to the wins at the highest level that two Hall of Fame caliber guys would. And you look at the Wizards, for example, and I'm just using them. You can pick any team.
Yeah.
Like the Gilbert Arenas, he was good enough to win a playoff series or two.
Yeah.
Even though he's not to the same level of a Joe Thomas or a Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
but
right,
because there's five guys on a basketball court and no one position has the same overall value and impact as the quarterback, which the Browns just have not figured out since '99. Look where the Browns are versus look where even the other worst franchises in other sports are.
Yeah, and the other worst sports franchises are just, and I don't know if it's because of the drama, which has certainly been there with the Browns, or because it's football, or it's a combination of both.
And we live in Cleveland and talk about
obviously, certainly, but the Wizards are just like, nobody cares about the Wizards. They've never
been good.
The Kings, nobody ever talks about the Sacramento. They're nondescript teams.
Right.
They don't have fan bases like the Cleveland Browns do. The Browns are popular across the country, even though they've been essentially awful since the early 60s, outside of a little stretch with Bernie and a moment with Brian Sipe. They've essentially been awful forever. And so
it's just bizarre. Like it would almost be like, think about the Patriots, for example.
Yeah.
Dynasty, like a dominant dynasty there. But like fast forward like 30 years from now, and let's say that they're winning 1-2 games a year, they go 0-17 or whatever.
Right.
They're like, those fans are going to be like, what the heck happened to our organization? Because we were so good at one point, and now we're just here. And that's the Browns, because the Browns were so good in the 50s, 60s, and so on that people that are still alive that remember those teams can't believe what they're seeing now.
I know.
We're going to talk about the top 10 list that Fox came out with where they ranked Myles all time. I'm going to defer to you guys because I'll be honest. I didn't know like three of the names on the list.
Oh, okay.
I have to see the list. I actually was talking with Zach Jackson earlier today about it, and kind of. Well, I don't want to give away too much, but I think it's interesting where he's at, and maybe he should be higher.
I think because I don't know some guys, I'm definitely going to put him higher than the guys I don't know. But
right. But we'll talk more about that. A lot of still to hash out with Myles Garrett.
By the way, I know it's the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I'm wearing my Eagles gear
people
today.
Complaining already?
No, I don't know. I'm not looking at the chats, but I'm saying people are probably like, "Ooh, this is Cleveland." Okay.
Yeah.
fine. The Super Bowl's this week. I'm going to wear some Eagles gear. I play for the Eagles, and the Chiefs can suck it.
Yeah, I hate the Chiefs, and
yes.
I don't really like the Eagles, but I'm rooting for them to win.
No.
You're not rooting for the Eagles just because Steve Becker is going to be annoying?
I cannot stand Tom Brady. I went to school in Boston. I have too many friends that are diehard Patriot Boston fans. They annoy the absolute living crap out of me to no end.
Yeah.
I'd rather see Mahomes dethrone Brady as the GOAT
it's tough.
than the Eagles. And Steve
It's
Becker.
tough. I don't like Philadelphia fans. They're
the worst.
They are the worst.
They're the worst.
I don't like the Eagles, but I'm so sick of the Chiefs.
That's fair.
I'm sick of Mahomes. I got to admit, even though they're Cleveland guys and I like
Kelce
them
brothers.
personally, I'm done with the Kelce brothers
What about
right
Andy
now.
Reid?
I mean, we don't need, no offense to Jason Kelce. Nobody needs that late night talk show he's doing. I mean, that's
didn't
just
even know it was
unnecessary.
on.
Yeah.
I've seen clips from it, but I mean, like, is it? I've never.
No, I've not watched.
There's been no buzz for it.
No,
like,
there's nothing.
No, it's just
I
once
mean,
a week. That's all
Andy
I know.
Reid looks like a walrus, so I appreciate that.
Andy
but-
Reid's a great dude. I love Andy because I played for
Right,
Andy.
right, yeah.
He was really good to me. So I've got nothing but great things to say about him, which makes this kind of weird because I'm rooting against him.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily love Sirianni, but he's a Mount Union guy, so I give him some love there.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm tired of the Chiefs.
I'm
tired of the Chiefs.
When
and
you
people,
dominate,
people are probably tired of the Eagles too. I mean, they've been successful lately. They've been to 3. This will be their 3rd Super Bowl in the last decade.
Yeah, well, that's why everybody
must be
wanted the
nice.
Lions or the Commanders or the Bills to get there, but unfortunately it didn't happen. All right, Anthony, but we got a Cavs-Celtics game to talk about. Let's start there.
Yeah, before we get into it, guys, Super Bowl 59, 1 game, 2 teams, and endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether you're predicting the first touchdown, who'll take home the MVP trophy, or the coin toss, FanDuel makes it an easy place to place your bets and feel the thrill of every moment. With live betting all game long, you can jump into the action, adjust your bets, and ride the wave of excitement from kickoff to the final whistle. Plus, to make the Super Bowl even sweeter, new customers can score $200 when you make your first bet. Just place $5, and if you win, you get another $200 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app and head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59.
So I got to tell you, for years I've said the regular season doesn't matter. And in general, I believe that, guys. But I found last night's loss to be very disheartening. On the show yesterday, Mike, you and I agreed that Evan Mobley was the X factor. In fact, I said, I said Evan Mobley has a big game, dominates, they're going to win. He doesn't, they're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened.
I went as far to ask Kenny Atkinson pregame,
Yeah.
is this a game where you try and feature Evan Mobley because you have a little bit of a size advantage down low? And he said, yeah, we think Evan's going to have a big game if we're going to win. And you can see the stats on the screen. A big game was not, but I don't think those numbers are right.
And I mean, is it a particularly good day to? Those numbers aren't.
Those
right.
numbers are
He
definitely
did not have
right.
2 points, but
No.
he didn't have many more than that. He was
He had
3
7,
of
I think.
10 inside the 3-point line.
Yeah.
That's inexcusable. And I guess this is a good day to pick on Jay for his insane comment apparently Monday, where he said he would not trade Evan Mobley for Luka Doncic.
3 for 14, 0 for 4 for 3.
Yeah.
7 points, 5.
Well, but think about it.
assists.
When he's not shooting a 3, he's in the paint, right? Like he's not taking 20-foot jump shots.
No.
He took 4 threes.
So
And 10 shots in the
he
paint.
went
There you
3
go.
for 10 in the paint.
And
That's inexcusable.
I've said a few times.
Now, can we I need to talk about the fact that Jay said he would not trade Evan Mobley for
Sure, you
Luka
can.
for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
Go ahead.
That's insane.
That's insane.
That's insane, right?
Yeah.
And not that he's proven wrong based on one horrible game by Evan Mobley, but that was just insane that he said that. Did G say it too?
G pondered it and then eventually said he would
Okay,
make the
it's
trade.
crazy because they're not close in terms of players, right? Fair?
No, Luka's a top 5 player in basketball
Yeah.
right now, unquestioned. You could
Yeah.
say he's overweight, whatever. He's still top 5 in
I
the
don't care if he's
NBA.
overweight.
And
Yeah, he's
Evan
giving you
Mobley's
30
not.
and 8 every
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
And 9 assists.
And 9 assists,
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, but anyway, getting back, like Evan Mobley played scared, I thought.
He did.
He was hesitant. Every shot he took seemed hesitant. And it was like he reverted back to the guy he's been on offense.
I've
in
said
the
this.
past.
I've said this before, Bull.
Yeah.
And you and I think, have actually talked. I was behind the glass when I said it, but we've seen Mobley dominate Charlotte. We've seen Mobley take it to Philadelphia when Embiid's not in. And I said, all that's great, but we have to see Mobley do it against some of the better centers in the East. And that's why I was so excited for the Lakers matchup.
Yeah.
He played pretty well against the Lakers.
Yeah.
Just using that as one example. Last night was a game where I thought Evan Mobley had to play with the aggression that we've seen against the Oklahoma Cities in that first matchup, or Anthony Davis, as you can see on the screen, or some of the other bigs when he certainly has the advantage. And last night from the get-go, I made a note on the first play of the game, or his first shot attempt, he went up, had Porzingis on his hip, pump faked, trying to get Porzingis to jump. Porzingis is gigantic. He makes, in person, I'm telling you, he makes Mobley and Allen look like they're my size, just gigantic human being. He doesn't find the pump fake, then goes up soft. He pins it off the backboard. And after that first shot, to me, and we have a pretty good angle from where we sit in the media seats, just looked hesitant.
Yeah.
And Mobley can't be he's a quicker jumper than Porzingis. Like, go be the aggressor in those situations. Right. And if he blocks your shot, he blocks your shot. Right. That's part of basketball.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley knows that. He blocks 100 shots for the other team over the course of the season. But he looked hesitant, looked a little not scared, but unsure of what he wanted to do, and it reverted back to the Evan Mobley offensive we had seen last year.
He
it's
didn't
one
play
game,
confidently.
But it's a good learning lesson for him that hopefully we can't have you play like this and beat the best teams in basketball.
I just think that the Cavaliers didn't have the mindset last night going into the game that the Celtics had. The Celtics knew they were, I think, 5 games back prior to this game?
Yeah.
And to get back in the mix, to get the number 1 seed, they got to win this game. Like, I think they attacked the game like it was a playoff game that mattered on the road, and the Cavs just took it as like another regular season game. Obviously, there's other factors that were in play last night. The Dean Wade thing continues to be an issue against the Celtics. Like, we're too small and we're too slow when we don't have that dude in the lineup. And it's crazy to say, but I think it matters.
Dean Wade can't, if Dean Wade, there's something wrong with the team.
Yes.
It's crazy to say at 40-10 if Dean Wade is that important.
He's important.
I tweeted it out last night.
Am I wrong?
You ready for the numbers?
I love
the numbers are even crazy.
By the way, I didn't tee up on purpose. I don't know.
No, well, I was gonna bring this to this. Yeah, that's perfect segue. But I tweeted last night. Dean Wade is way too important to this team, and this is the exact tweet. That no role.
I swear I didn't see this.
No role player should be that important. Your 8th or 9th best player should not be that important. And then here are the numbers, and you can take the impact numbers. Since the Donovan Mitchell era, so 2022 season through today, when Dean Wade plays, the Cavs are 96-37. It's a 72.2 win percentage. When he doesn't play, the Cavs are 43-38. That's a 53.1 win percentage without Dean Wade.
Is there another common denominator?
Denominator,
like,
not sure.
Did Donovan Mitchell miss a lot of those games?
I don't. It's too big of a sample size to go through and look at his game line. But here's what I can tell you why it makes a difference when he's in or not. Not only is he just a connector, doesn't need shots, he plays without the basketball. They're a much better rebounding team when he's on the court. His size gives them the versatility and the positional flexibility where he can be your backup big alongside Allen and or Mobley, and then that opens up more minutes for LeVert, Tyson, Jerome, who didn't play a ton last night. When he's out, George Niang's the only other backup big you have to play, unless you're going to play Tristan Thompson, but that's a terrible matchup against Boston. So George Niang is your only available big. And George battles on defense. He loses a lot of those battles, and I thought he played halfway decent defense, and they made some tough shots over him yesterday. But he had a minus 22 plus minus in the first quarter. And you don't have another option. You can't pivot to anyone else. If Dean Wade's in the game, you can play Dean Wade at that spot, pick and choose your spots for Niang instead of being forced to play him. And then it also opens up more flexibility to mix and match your guard lineups to find a combo that's actually working. Because last night we saw the Cavs scored 6 points in the first 7 minutes of the game.
Yeah. How many games has he missed?
A lot. Way too many. It's his biggest knock.
That's the biggest knock. He's not reliable.
Can't make the club in the top, and that's your biggest strength is your availability. He just hasn't been.
Yeah.
Is this prisoner of the moment or reality?
No, they need Dean Wade.
No,
and or someone along the likes of
I'm not
Dean
talking
Wade.
about Dean Wade. If the Celtics are fully healthy, nobody can beat them. Is that reality or prisoner of the moment?
Honestly, like for any of the top 5 teams, if you're fully healthy, it's going to be tough to beat.
But I just think the Celtics starting 5 is absurd.
It is absurd.
Yeah.
And they've got every player 6'8", and their arms hang down to their knees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Like, who's their worst starter of the 5?
Drew Holiday at this point of his career is probably
Okay.
And he's been in the league for 20 years.
But he's a great defender, right?
He's
really good.
And he's a great passer.
He's really good. He's a perfect
he's their
guy.
worst player.
The Celtics
in their
are very
lineup.
good for a reason. Like they're
And
the
all the
defending
guys
team.
they bring off the bench are good.
So
You
they're
bring
a
in guys
very
like
good team.
like Pritchard and some of these other dudes, and
They're
they're
all
all
pains
just
in the ass.
pains in the ass. They're Johnny Hustles, man.
Yeah. And they're like big. Like, it felt like it was such a struggle for the Cavs to just stay in that game.
Yeah.
Like, every shot for the Cavs seemed like contested, and the Celtics were getting so many easy baskets.
So when Porzingis is in, and he wasn't in the playoff series last year,
Right.
And when he's hurt, he's another guy that availability is a big factor.
Yeah, he's always hurt too,
When he's in, they're essentially unguardable. You have to hope they miss shots because they spread you out.
Right, which they're not
They
going
run
to do in
high
a 7-game series.
It could happen for a game or two, but
Yeah.
part of the reason they ran through the playoffs last year was they're really freaking good. They spread you out. They run a high pick and roll with Porzingis.
Yeah.
Porzingis, I'm telling you, is a giant. Not just he's a giant 7-footer. He rolls. You either send help and try to double Porzingis, and that leaves a guy open in the corner. We saw Pritchard get 2 or 3 open threes on it. Atkinson last night and Donovan said we ended up over-helping on Porzingis because he made a couple shots in the paint, and that led to easy kickouts. So you have to be kind of more disciplined than normal when playing against Porzingis. And then if you don't double Porzingis, you're letting him attack a switch, and he's already bigger than your bigs. Now he's on last night, 6'5" Max Strus, a 6'2" Darius Garland in a couple instances. They put Niang on him. Niang is 6'8". It's not 7'3".
Yeah.
So they create these mismatches and attack the mismatches.
And Niang's also very slow.
Yeah, I mean, Porzingis isn't
and by the way,
fast either. But
Tatum and Porzingis didn't even shoot well last night.
No one shot well.
They went 14 for 43, those two guys.
Defense wasn't the issue for the Cavs yesterday. It was offense. They couldn't score.
Yeah, they couldn't score.
They couldn't score.
And they've had that problem against the Celtics. The Cavs are now 2 and 5 against Oklahoma City, Houston.
They're 5 and
Boston.
5 against the 5 best record-wise teams they've played this season.
Yeah, but that's misleading because.
Why is it misleading? It's 5 and 5 against the 5 best teams they've played. There's nothing misleading about those numbers.
Yeah, well, because I was talking about because Houston, Boston, and Oklahoma City are probably the 3 best. Well, maybe Denver. All right.
Houston just lost to the Nets in back-to-back
The Knicks
games.
are a fraud. Let's be honest.
There's just nothing misleading. But these numbers are as clear as
The Knicks are
day.
fraudulent.
There's nothing that's misleading about this graphic.
Well, I'm saying I was talking about specifically Oklahoma City, Boston, and Houston. They were 2 and 5 against those teams.
And New York has a better record than Houston. So
and you have to play these teams.
Yeah. They play New York 3 more times. I'm just saying this graphic. There's nothing misleading about this graphic. But they are 35 and 5 against the rest of the NBA. And 5 and 5 against the 5 best record-wise teams they've played this year.
So there's a reason why the Cavaliers need to be very active here at the deadline.
The problem is they have nothing to trade. All this talk about getting these they're not getting good players. What do they have to trade? They have nothing.
There was the rumor and report from Chris Fedor this morning that DeAndre Hunter could be on their radar.
But
the
be
Hawks,
on their radar and actually be able to make a trade for a guy is a totally different story.
If you told me Luka Doncic was going to be traded for Anthony Davis in a first, I would have called you a drunk idiot. And look what happened.
We don't have an Anthony Davis to trade.
But I'm just saying, none of us know what these teams value certain guys. Maybe the Hawks love a Jalen Tyson.
Fair enough.
I don't know what the Hawks GM is thinking.
You know damn well nobody loves Jalen Tyson.
I don't.
You're not getting a significant player. I hope you're right.
I'm just saying. Let me ask you, though, this, Bull.
Celtics are going to win the NBA title again. It's just, I'm frustrated.
You know what? I don't need your negativity today. I don't.
I'm frustrated. I'm being prisoner in the moment a little bit. I usually am not.
Is this going to be a miserable show today? Because we're talking about the Browns and rock bottom, all these things. Can we talk about something positive?
No,
we can't.
I don't know.
Spring training starts soon.
No.
What's that?
Spring training does start soon. So that's fun.
And the Guardians lost the offseason again, but they always win the season, even when they lose the offseason. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this, Dustin.
Yeah.
So you're watching the game last night, and I know it started horrifically. In their last 2 first quarters against championship caliber teams, OKC and Boston, they were down 13 against Boston and down, I think it was 21 points against OKC. So bad starts, which is inexcusable, and you're setting yourself up for an insurmountable comeback when you're down 20 that early to a team like that. They did get it within 2 possessions in the third quarter and about midway through the fourth quarter. It was, I think, 94-90 was the score. And then Boston kind of kicked it back in gear. Do you attribute that more to Boston just playing with its food, or do you think Cleveland actually found something out to attack?
I don't know. I mean, the NBA is interesting because I do think it's like the remember NBA Jam, the video game. You could turn computer assistants on or off to make the games close at some point. I feel like the NBA is kind of that way in a lot of cases where the games end up getting sort of close at some point, regardless of if they found something or not. It just kind of is the way the game's always been. I hope they found something, guys, because those starts in these games against really good teams, it's not going to cut it, man.
Yeah.
You can't get down double digits in the first quarter at home, by the way, to a team like the Celtics or the OKC Thunder. You just can't do it. You're going to get your ass blown out the gym.
Yeah, Mike just asked a question he knows the answer to. The Cavs didn't find anything, and you know that.
I was just asking.
You know that. You know that. You know the answer to that question.
Sometimes you ask
Find something. It's the NBA.
I'm just saying.
You're going to play.
He's a good producer, man. He's trying to keep the conversation flowing.
Listen, they shot like crap yesterday. It was their lowest field goal percentage of the season. They couldn't buy a 3. They got hot for a little stretch at the end of the third, early fourth, and made it competitive. And Boston did what Boston does. Even though, do you know Boston's blown more fourth-quarter leads this season? Double-digit fourth-quarter leads than any other team in basketball.
That is crazy. You wouldn't have thought that.
They play.
Certainly.
They do what I said, play with their fruit. They just turn it on. They have the on-off switch, which
I wonder how much you brought up trying to get that number 1 seed. I wonder how much that is important.
I don't think Boston cares.
You don't think so?
I think it matters
way more to the Cavs.
A 10 out of 10 to the Cavs.
Yeah.
I think it matters a 2 out of 10 to Boston.
The Cavs are up 4.5 games, but 5 in the loss column. I think Boston's played one more game at this point. So the Cavs got, 32 games? Yeah, 40 and 10, so they got 32 games left. They should hold on to the 1 seed, but it's certainly not a guarantee. I mean, we do have a lot of season to go.
They have a gauntlet in March, too, travel-wise, more than opponents. They're on the road. They come back. They have two different 5 and 7s.
They do have some tough opponents. I mean, you got 3 games with the Knicks still.
Play Memphis twice still. Memphis is red hot in the Western Conference. You got Indiana again. You got Boston Indiana again. So
one more Boston.
Yeah.
At Boston.
At Boston, correct.
And if Boston wins that game, they'll have the tiebreaker if it does come down to something like that. They play the Pistons tonight. 5.5-point favorite, back-to-back. Have we heard about anybody not playing tonight? They've sat guys sometimes after a back-to-back.
I have not heard anything yet. I haven't seen the shoot-around reports come out. They usually come out around 11:30, so we should know in a little bit if anyone's out. But I would expect Mobley to have a bounce-back game. You
know, it was interesting. One thing we didn't talk about specifically, when they had the ball late in the game and they were down 4 or 6, and Mobley had the ball right under the basket and then kicked it back out. It led to a turnover.
Yeah.
And, he's got to go up with it there.
So Donovan after the game.
Yeah.
And we only get a little glimpse of these guys in the locker room after the game, win or lose. Like, you've been there, you talk. We don't really see the actual conversations that go on. I'm telling you, and I haven't been around enough guys to make an overarching statement, he gets it on levels that other guys don't. And he talked about, he pulled Evan aside. He had a conversation, said it's the NBA. You're going to play like, he used the word I don't want to say, but he played like
crap.
Like poop.
Yeah.
And it happens. It's a bad game. It's on TNT. Who cares? We got a game tomorrow. You score 25 points tomorrow, guess what? That's what they're going to be talking about. Like, you have to be able to turn the page as quickly as possible and get back on track. No matter what you do, they're going to talk. He actually said, hell, I could score 50 points, but I missed one free throw and I screwed up some guy's parlay. And I'm going to get a DM on Instagram saying, you effing bum. Like, how could you? So
he probably
they're going to talk about you no matter what.
He probably gets no love whatsoever on Twitter.
By the way, if you send somebody a message if you lose a parlay,
oh my God, you're
the biggest loser
lowest
in the world.
Of the low.
Yeah,
I mean,
biggest.
You're beyond a loser.
Just get a life. Anyway.
But I fully expect, knowing the progress he's made this year, the opponent, and Detroit does not have a great front line. That's a team that he should be able to dominate. And the fact that Atkinson, Donovan, and Jared Allen all kind of came to his, not his defense, but had his back, like, hey, it's a one-game blip.
Right.
We expect him to bounce back. I think they're going to make it an emphasis to feed Evan Mobley tonight and try to get him back closer to the All-Star level he played at than we saw last
but
night.
It's not going to change the thought that he struggles against good teams and good big guys.
He's got to do it in the playoffs.
That's not happening against Detroit. So he's got, and there'll be some other challenges for him against Boston, against the Knicks, against Memphis during the season still. Why you got a sly look on your face?
I got a funny text.
You want to share it?
I mean, sure. It's when I was in Texas, we were bowling one day, and one of the high school softball girls was like, oh, my God, it's Mike Lucas from TV. So they called me a tween heartthrob, and someone just texted me saying, why did they call you a tween heartthrob? And it made me think of that moment.
Okay, of that
stupid,
moment.
Very stupid.
Are you a tween? Do you believe yourself to be a tween
I hope
heartthrob?
not. No, not.
Okay.
I was like 24 at the time, so it was a lot more.
How old are you now?
31.
Okay.
It still looks like he's 24.
Still looks like he's 24.
Did you guys hear the Jared Allen comments about like the chemistry in the locker room? What did you think of that?
What's he supposed to say?
Oh yeah.
What's
he talked about not wanting to break up
anybody.
what's in there.
And Donovan was asked the same question.
Yeah.
He said, "We have enough. We have enough. We have enough." But
that's what they're
also,
supposed to say.
what can you imagine Jared Allen says, and I'm just using random names, but when Jeff Schubel, I think is his name. Jeff asked him.
Jeff Shedeur, man. You got to learn the names of all these people.
Jeff asked him, Jared, do you feel like you have to make any moves, or is this team good enough? And can you imagine he goes,
Jeff asked the best blunt questions. It's so good.
There's
you know what? We got to get Tristan Thompson out of here. He's no good. He can't play. He's not going to be. You know what? Karras expiring, not coming. Let's just trade Karras. Like what's he supposed to say in that situation?
It's a fair question, and you're just trying to get him to maybe give you something.
Yeah.
And obviously he didn't take the bait.
And Donovan, when he was asked, goes, "I know you're trying to do your job. I have no issue with the question, but you ain't getting me tripping."
Yeah, that's someone who gets it.
Yeah.
So that's
Jeff. We love you, Jeff. You're the man.
Where are you calling from?
Jeff.
That's a long time.
He cracks me up. I don't know him.
He used to listen to our show every day. I don't know. Jeff's an older guy, so I'm not sure technology-wise if he's watching this show. But
Jeff's a good dude. I like.
He watches he's at every sporting event.
He's
every
he and Tom although Tom's retiring. Those guys are at every sporting event. Tom was there last night? I thought he was retiring.
He's still everywhere.
Tom put out a post that he was retiring.
He was there last night.
I don't know.
He's talking to Jason Lloyd before the game.
Maybe it was his last. I don't know. Oh, anyway. Speaking of the Browns, let's talk about a new potential quarterback. Every time the slightest rumor. In fact, I'll share a text that I sent. So yesterday, Mike, or for Monday's show, Mike had a topic. What was it about?
The Browns' plans at pick 2.
Well, but it's
right.
Out of the Senior Bowl, there was new reports that Cam Ward was the heavy favorite to go number 1.
Right.
What should the Browns do at 2 now?
So this is what I said to pick fun at Mike, even though
I had a better response, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll read that too. Because every day it's like, what does this mean for the Browns? What does that mean for the Browns? So I said, last blah blah blah. Anyway, I said tomorrow it's going to be Browns plans at 2 after Trump invades Canada. Wednesday, Browns plans at 2 after hiring the lunch lady from Travis Hunter's middle school. Thursday, Browns plans at 2 after we spoke with Cam Ward's freshman team coach who was born in Toledo. Friday, Browns plans at 2 following a tweet from Johnny Manziel saying Shedeur should not go to the Browns. And then, of course, what was your tweet? Oh, text. Did the Beatles stop playing Yellow Submarine at concerts after the next album came out? That is, you're right, in the end. That's what. Now, Yellow Submarine was a bad example because it's not one of the best Beatles songs. But your point is taken. Everybody's obsessed with this draft pick. And so, deservedly so, because this could finally be the pick that takes the Browns from the worst franchise in professional sports and turns them around, like we've seen with Jaden Daniels, who was drafted at 2. Could the same thing happen? You never know. But because everybody's so obsessed with football in general, draft picks, it leads to so much nonsense in terms of, does this mean anything? Does that mean anything? But I guess you never know.
Thank you for explaining that text, because when I read it, it made no sense.
Oh, the one I said to him?
Yeah, dude, you got to understand.
Yeah.
You guys are going to put me in therapy.
Yeah.
Because I look at my phone.
Yeah.
If I don't touch my phone for a couple hours, and I, for example, the other day I was playing tennis. I get out off the court. I check my phone. I have 76 unread messages.
Well, here's the thing, though. We shouldn't even send anything. First of all, Mike, Jason, and I are really the only ones that talk in that chat group.
How about you take it on?
Yeah.
Here's my role, by the way.
And we have a separate chat of me, Mike, and Jason, because nobody else. I get annoyed when I put a funny Instagram and nobody even responds. I think I'm insulted by that. Usually, Jason will be the only one that responds.
Well,
maybe
save
Mike.
yourself the heartbreak and just send it to one person.
That's true. So Dustin never responds. Anthony only does likes. Earl never responds. Jay only responds if it involves Baker.
I was going to say.
Or, that's pretty much it. Or once in a blue moon. G never responds, or if he does, it's 3 days later. And Tyvus.
You got to have a rule, though. If there's a conversation that goes beyond 10 messages
then you gotta take
between two people, get a room.
That's true.
So, Boy, this is the longest intro to a topic without letting Anthony tell us what this new thing that brought up Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us the thing.
Please explain what
happened with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Monday when the trade request came out.
Yeah.
A bunch of, I think there was 15 Browns fans went down to the stadium to host a little protest.
Why was this even covered? It's good for
them. It made it on
19
Action News, and the video went viral, and Shedeur retweeted it. So we'll play the video here real quick for you guys.
Yeah.
Isn't working.
They really sent the reporter out to cover 15 people standing
to give you guys the backstory, because we've got the video. The protesters were playing Shedeur's song in the background. Shedeur's rap song. He's a rapper, if you don't know.
Yeah.
And then Shedeur's brother tweeted out something like respect or whatever. And then Shedeur retweeted his brother saying wrists up, which is his signature celebration.
Does that mean anything, guys? What do we read into?
Here's what that means. That means that Shedeur Sanders would like to be the number 2 pick in the draft, or the number 1 pick in the draft for that matter. What's he supposed to do? Putting that out there is not saying that he doesn't want to be somewhere else. It's not saying. It's just saying I think I'm one of the worthy of the top pick in the draft. It's I would do the same thing if I were him.
I think he sees it as kind of cool.
Yeah, of course it's cool.
Yeah. Browns fans want me. When we say Browns fans, a dozen and then 3 extra eggs, because I think it was legitimately 15 people.
Yeah.
But they're out there playing my song. It's good promotion for my music career, if that's what he wants to go, or just my song in general. It's not the vitriol that we've seen certain Browns fans have to other Browns quarterbacks in the past. So I thought it was cool that he retweeted it. Like, good for them.
Yeah,
and for the people that were out there protesting, they became a viral story. Like,
Absolutely.
I thought it was a win-win for everybody.
Were they in front of the stadium or
Yeah,
Berea?
in front of the stadium.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, this is the biggest no big deal of all time.
yeah.
But
This was a joke. The parade thing they did for the 0-16,
There was a lot.
that was a lot of people, and
Yeah.
it was pretty awesome.
That,
I think.
I loved it.
I love that
I know
thing.
some people.
I wasn't here for that.
Whatever.
I wish I was.
Some people didn't like it, thought it was embarrassing for the city.
Yeah, we didn't care about that. We cared more about like embarrassing the organization.
It was embarrassing for
because-
the organization.
Is it going to work?
Whoever this reporter is.
No, the video is just not working. Thanks.
So
Social
this
News Desk.
reporter, I don't know her name.
By the way, they led the 6 o'clock. Look at the time.
They led the 6 o'clock news with that.
Unless
like it.
unless they did the C block at 6 o'clock.
You know she's out there like, really? This is what I went to college for, to cover this? This is what we're doing here?
I have the same thoughts sometimes on this show.
It's like when they make the weather guy stand outside in the snow
Oh, that's so
Or the
dumb.
tornado.
or whatever. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
here
so
I
dumb.
am.
That's so dumb. Why do you need to be out in the weather to talk about the weather?
I don't think this means
Yeah.
Shedeur wants to be a Brown or
Yeah.
doesn't want to be a Brown or means anything other than, hey, that's cool, I see it, respect.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool.
By the way, you know what sucks? Just amongst the many things that suck about the Browns, is it just sounds terrible to say wants to be a Brown. You know what I mean? Like
No.
when you say wants to be
No.
a Jaguar, wants to be a Lion. Those words sound good without the S on the end. Browns is weird enough. Without the S, it
because
sounds even
Other
worse.
things are like badass animal mascots.
It's not a color.
And this name happens to be a family name and a color that is the color of.
It's not even a flattering color.
Poop.
It is just a color.
What's your favorite color? You ever
Yeah.
heard someone say brown?
Never.
Never.
Who says brown? You
Never.
say blue. You say
Never.
red. You say green. Nobody says
Yeah,
brown.
black,
Ever.
whatever, yellow. No one says brown.
No.
Oh.
So
You got shitty taste.
none of this means anything. Like, none of this means anything. We'll find out down the line if Dion or Shedeur are going to do anything to try to prevent the Browns from drafting him if they
I don't
want
think
to.
they will.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Do you?
No.
I mean, Dion has said.
Dion says a lot of things. Okay,
That's true.
At
That's
the end,
fair.
At the end of the day, I do think Dion is going to let this thing play out and kind of be a little more hands off as a dad. Like, dude, your son's a grown ass man now.
I know, but he's not like the rest of us. Like, Dion's a different guy.
He is. He is. I've come around on Dion a little bit more over the last couple of years.
I'm not saying it's bad.
No,
that
I
he's
know.
different.
I
I'm
know.
just saying,
I just.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised.
Okay. Well, and we don't know that the Browns are going to do it. We have no idea what their plan is. I know a lot of us think they should take a quarterback, but we don't know what Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski even think of him.
Yeah. I mean, we do know that Tommy Reese at his introductory press conference was asked, what's the most important trait you need to have in a quarterback? And he said decision-making. And once again, connecting dots, and these are just imaginary dots. They don't really mean anything. But at the Senior Bowl, or the East-West Shrine Bowl, which one was the one? The Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
Shedeur was asked, what's your best quality as a quarterback? And his answer was decision-making.
Yeah.
So,
well, just because he says it doesn't mean it's true.
well, that's why I'm connecting imaginary dots here, Bo. I'm just putting little pieces together
Yeah.
to try and figure out, okay, could this be something that makes sense? And I know you've watched more college football than all of us, Dustin. I think if you're looking at a quarterback that fits what Stefanski has traditionally wanted to do, Shedeur fits better than some of the other options at the top of the
He
draft.
probably fits more so than Cam Ward,
Yeah.
just based off of what we saw them do and their skill sets. But again, I don't even know for a fact that we know what Kevin Stefanski wants to do. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a good point.
We think he wants to run a lot of, two tight ends. He wants to run the ball more power. He wants to, obviously, well, that was when Nick Chubb was really good and healthy. Baker Mayfield was here. So, like, I don't know how things will evolve with Kevin Stefanski this season. But we think, based off what we saw with like Baker Mayfield in that offense and in the offenses that he ran in Minnesota, would be that Shedeur Sanders would kind of fit that mold a little bit better.
It feels like timing plays a big factor in that too. And Shedeur at least seems to play, from my limited watching of tape and watching games, I know their offensive line was an atrocity last season. This year was a little better.
Better this year.
Just plays more on time than Cam Ward, who seems to try to extend plays to the maximum and just is so laissez-faire back there, which leads to some incredible
Cam Ward's more
outcomes.
fun, man. Cam Ward's
it's-
a roller coaster ride,
Yeah.
man. It's up and down at times, but he's obviously made more good plays than bad plays in college. So I don't know. I still like Cam Ward. To me, and maybe it's because he does play the position a little sexier than Shedeur, and we want to see some offense. And we're tired of watching this diet vanilla soda offense.
Here's the problem that hangs over all of this. Andrew Berry's making the pick ultimately.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought him up.
Because and I've said a couple of times, if you just assume he's going to get everything wrong, then
what's the point?
What's the point? But it's really hard, and especially this latest incident where Myles Garrett uses Andrew Berry's words against him, to me, felt like the final straw. I think Jimmy needs to fire Andrew Berry today. I don't think he's going to, but I mean, Andrew Berry's had 5 drafts. Mm-hmm. Where's the young talent?
Adam,
there's none.
You've never been more right in your life.
That's probably true.
You haven't.
And I've been right a lot.
When this came out, this was a line in the sand between, everything. Honestly, like Andrew, one of those two's got to go right now.
Yeah.
Like we do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like you've got to go now. And frankly, if the organization wants to continue to keep the fans happy, and extend Myles Garrett or what have you, you've got to get rid of Andrew Berry. You have to.
And we know Jimmy Haslam, over the course of his ownership here, is impressionable by public opinion and frankly, any opinion. And after he used, my goal is not to go from Cleveland to Canton, those specific words thrown back in Berry's face, it made, and we could argue deservedly so or not, Andrew Berry kind of looked like a fool.
A complete fool.
And if Jimmy Haslam, who had already given Berry the vote of confidence, there's no precedent and no reason for me to believe he wouldn't just completely change his mind on that and go reverse course, because now the public opinion is pretty clearly that guy messed up way more than we thought at first, even if it's the exact same situation. Myles doesn't see his plan. If Myles doesn't believe his plan, how are we supposed to believe his plan? And if we can't believe his plan, how are we going to buy tickets next year? And if that's the case, it would not shock me in the least bit if Jimmy Haslam all of a sudden decided, all right, that's it, AB. Thanks for everything, but we'll see you later.
Now, our fans are Browns addicts, so they will be back next year.
Yes.
Anyway, but Andrew Berry, I thought for a while should be fired. But I was willing to – I convinced myself to give him one more try after I flip-flopped on Kevin Stefanski, because I'm like, all right, they're a team. Let's give them one more chance together. But I'm just thinking about it. After this situation, like, why are they a team? They don't have to be a team. Kevin Stefanski, go hire another GM that thinks Kevin Stefanski's a good coach. I'm sure there's plenty of we were told a million times by Jason and everybody else that everybody loves Kevin Stefanski. So there must be a lot of GMs out there that would be good with Kevin Stefanski as the coach. So find one of them, and because if you look at the talent on this team, who is on this team that is a good player that is under 29 years old?
There's no one.
29.
Stole my take.
29. David Njoku will turn, and Denzel Ward, I think, will both turn 29 before this season. So, who will play this year under 29?
Yeah,
You've got Martin Emerson, decent player.
Decent player.
You've got Jerry Jeudy, good player. Jerome Ford,
do you put Newsome,
fine backup running back.
Newsome in that?
Newsome, okay player.
JOK,
you got JOK, good player, but he's hurt.
Know. Yeah.
How many other guys? I guess Grant Delpit, probably. There's so few.
This roster is more devoid.
Look at the
talent.
offense specifically. Yeah. Your best player under 29 is Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerome Ford is probably the second best player under 29. And I don't even know if he's he's a backup.
He's not an everyday back.
No, he's a backup.
I mean, Tillman maybe from what you saw, but there's not enough of a track.
We don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
These are very average starters in the NFL.
Yeah. At best.
Yes.
So,
and those are you're supposed to be your young core.
Yeah,
great
pieces. That's it. The only young guy on the O-line is DeJuan Jones. We don't know if he can play.
Zinter did not look good
Zinter looked terrible. David Njoku's about to turn 29 this summer. Your wide receivers are young, but we don't know if any of them are any good besides Jeudy.
Frankly, they should trade Myles Garrett and get rid of Berry right now. Probably both.
They probably should.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
To your point about all these players who are not underage, so to speak, under that 29 age gap, like the only way you're going to get good young players is through these big draft picks, and you don't have any.
No.
So you could get rid of Garrett.
Yeah.
You're going to get probably 4 assets. Not 4 first-round picks.
No.
But probably 2.
Absolutely.
Right?
Two.
And then some other yesterday. It's at least 2.
And then some other things as well, right? So those things would then give you the ability to go after a nice whatever. I mean, you're already your quarterback, and then some pieces to go along with it, right? And then on top of that, you have to think about like where this goes from here. If they're both here, or if one of them's here, like Myles Garrett's, if he wins this whole thing, and Barry's gone, well, and they extend him. Let's say they extend him right now. Okay, well, guess what? If they're 3 and whatever next year, they're going to trade him in the middle of the year for future assets,
right?
Which will then be used to entice another GM to come here because they got assets. Like,
right.
This is just such a no-win situation for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I understand. Listen, a lot of people think Myles Garrett won't be traded. The Browns have steadfastly said they won't trade him. It's very complicated to trade him from a cap standpoint.
Crazy.
But ultimately, so that makes it tricky. I said a week before the demand came out that I think the Browns are better off trading Myles Garrett in the long run, as great as he is, because it probably will take some time. Now, the quarterback turns things around quickly, but a situation like we saw in Washington this year is uncommon. To get to the NFC to a championship game, and in the AFC, it's just the quarterbacks are so good in the AFC that even if the Browns get it right, it's still going to take some time for them to make progress.
So we've said a couple times, and you have. Yeah. I agree with you. Dustin said it, that the Browns are not just a quarterback away. When you look at the roster, there are bigger holes, or not bigger holes, but other holes.
They're a quarterback away from being a playoff contender.
So whenever we say that, we end up getting a ton of comments that say, you guys are crazy. Look at this roster. They made the playoffs last year. Let's
those people are wrong.
Well, just hear me out for a sec.
Yeah.
Entering 2024, remember the 33rd team did the best rosters in football. They had the Browns in the top 5.
Yeah, they were wrong.
When you look at, and we should do this exercise right now. It'll take 2 minutes. Let's go through the Browns roster. We could start at the top and go down.
Yeah.
Guys where we thought they were entering last season, are they going to be better or worse in 2025? Or at least what we thought they could be.
Yeah.
Like who's...
Well, first of all, everybody across the board overrated the talent on the Browns because the defense had a special 2/3 of a season.
Yes.
And we ignored
the quarterback differentiation and the home and away.
The fact that they played against a lot of bad quarterbacks. Yeah. We ignored that. We made nothing of it because the team was playing well. Every so often, before we do what you want to do, and that's good, there's a team that jumps up, has a good year, and it's unsustainable. And we ignored that. And it was unsustainable how they won. Let's face it, the Browns' defense wasn't an all-time great defense. That was silly for us to think that. We had those conversations because some of the numbers pointed that way, but it wasn't. Myles Garrett is the only Hall of Famer on the Browns' defense.
Yes.
You don't have an all-time special defense with one Hall of Famer. You don't.
So let's go through the list real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
At quarterback, they have no quarterbacks right now. Like Deshaun Watson, is your expectations higher or lower?
There's no starting caliber quarterback. They have no starting caliber running backs.
So
they have one starting caliber wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy.
And they're potentially losing Elijah Moore as a free agent.
Yeah, I don't care. He's nothing.
Cedric Tillman didn't play the last 6 weeks with a concussion.
Yeah.
You assume he's
Their
back,
offense stinks. They have nothing on offense.
That's my point.
Across the board.
Offensive line, which we thought could have been a top 5 unit last year, was not by any means a top 5 unit.
Right. Was it top 5 the year before?
Entering the season, all the projections had, and I don't know how to judge.
Yeah, that was wrong. That was wrong.
People got old quick. Batonio's not the player he was. Teller's still a good player, but in and out hurt. Conklin actually played halfway decent last year. Pochich took a step back, and at left tackle, Jed Wills, DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, it was not good.
It was not good enough.
Yeah, center wasn't good, left tackle wasn't good, and the guard positions weren't as strong.
You know, I do want to say this because you brought up the point about the Commanders and how rare it is to be able to turn a season around in 1 year. They were able to do it because Jaden Daniels was a generational player this year. So that odds of that happening again, maybe unlikely.
Yeah.
But something else that team did is they changed everything. They changed the culture of that building. Yeah. Ownership changed, of course, we know that. But you know what they did? They went out and they got guys who were past their prime but were winners. Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, a couple of Bobby Wagner. Those guys know how to win.
Right.
And so you bring in the young quarterback who obviously is a hell of a player, but you need more than just a rookie to help change culture.
Yeah.
So those guys did that, and that team evolved as the season went on. Their coach was obviously galvanizing the organization. Yeah. So there's more than just the rookie quarterback. Like Jaden Daniels on other teams probably don't go to the playoffs. Like as good as he was,
it depends on the team.
I'm telling you. Yeah, of course it depends on the team.
Yeah.
But
yes, there would have been teams he wouldn't have gone to the playoffs with.
I mean, sub in Jaden Daniels in Cleveland. They're not in the playoffs.
No, but they win more than 3 games.
Correct.
Right, but they probably win 7 games, you know. And that's, yes, it wasn't just Jaden Daniels, but he was the most important thing. You can say sub him onto the Browns. Well, now sub Deshaun Watson into Washington. They don't sniff the playoffs.
My point in saying that is they have to, the Browns, to be in a situation where they can compete like next year or relatively soon, next couple of seasons. They've got to hit on their quarterback, and they need those assets. So to me, that requires trading Myles Garrett, and frankly, it requires probably getting rid of Andrew Berry because he's you don't want a guy who's literally just hanging on by a thread, being the GM.
Now you could argue the same thing for Stefanski, but
I can separate Stefanski as a coach because he hasn't picked the players. Like I kind of think Stefanski's been.
Stefanski's been okay, up and down, okay. Berry's been bad.
Yeah, I think
he's done a bad job.
Sort of been an innocent bystander here in some ways.
I'm not going to go that far, but I can make an argument for why he should keep his job. I can't for Andrew Berry. The only argument for keeping Andrew Berry is he and Stefanski have worked together. And this comment by Myles Garrett finally pushed me like, that doesn't matter anymore. Like, the guy just humiliated your general manager. The last time the general manager got humiliated, long before you were here, remember when the reporter with the 3 blind mice thing with Joe Banner?
Yes, I do.
And what happened? They got fired.
Three Stooges.
3 Stooges, not 3 blind mice.
This was Michael Lombardi, Joe Banner, and
Jimmy Haslam.
They called there was a reporter, Dan. What's his name?
DeRuse?
Yes.
Dan DeRuse. Yeah.
19 News.
Yeah.
That called him out on it, and it was a very viral moment.
Yeah. Well, he said fans are calling you guys the 3 Stooges.
Yes. And
I've seen that clip.
Yes.
Yeah. And those guys, and then Banner and Lombardi got fired.
Axed.
I mean, this is worse. This is Myles Garrett saying Andrew Berry's a clown.
Hall of Famer.
Yes. He is flat out, it might as well have said in that statement, Andrew Berry's a clown. That's what he said.
Myles Garrett?
Yeah. Well,
Channel 19 news reporter. Which one carries
Dan
more
DeRuse
significance?
is a very well-respected reporter.
That's not a shot at Dan DeRuse.
No,
but
I know.
Myles Garrett versus any media member in Cleveland, Myles Garrett's going to win that.
Except for me, but yes, all right, fine. Myles, this is humiliating, and Andrew Berry should be fired. There's no doubt about it. What has he done well?
He's traded for wide receivers well.
That's so overrated.
That's it.
What has he done what has that done for this team?
You just asked what
traded
for
wide receivers.
I'm just telling you, he's made some good wide receiver trades.
You know, I mean, it's not like he made some brilliant trades. He got guys on the cheap because teams were trying to get rid of him.
Yes, but he did well. I'm just giving you an answer.
I can't. I'm not getting. Well, he traded for Elijah Moore. That was a terrible trade.
You don't win them all. Listen, I'm with you. Like no one's here defending Andrew Berry. I'm just
Andrew Berry.
He's needling you here right
has
now.
done a terrible job as the GM. He had 5. He's had 5 drafts. The best player they've gotten in those 5 drafts is J.O.K., who's hurt.
Yeah.
The second best player they've gotten is who?
Delpit.
Who are the possibilities? Delpit, Newsome, Jed Wills,
Emerson.
I feel like I'm forgetting.
I have a hard time
Emerson.
remembering who drafted who. Honestly, man.
Those are
all his picks. He did not. Who are the best players on this team? Myles Garrett. He didn't acquire him.
No.
David Njoku. He didn't acquire him.
Ward.
Jerry Jeudy, he acquired.
Chubb.
Denzel Ward, he did not. Chubb he did not.
He's not on the roster right now.
Bitonio, he did not.
Teller,
he did not.
That's probably your best 7 guys right there. So one of the 7.
Did he draft Delpit?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, he drafted Delpit. Delpit's okay. He's done nothing. He's done nothing.
The free agent
He did
signings,
draft J.O.K.
The free agent
know that,
He said that, but he's hurt.
You know.
When you look at his free agent signings too,
Yeah.
they spent some decent money on guys that just have not panned out to what you expect. You look at the safeties, John Johnson and Juan Thornhill.
Terrible.
On Thornhill.
Hooper. Wasn't Hooper a big threat when he first
Awful.
started?
Yeah.
Dalvin Tomlinson's been fine, but remember how much money they
paid
spent
him a lot. He's been
and
just
he has
a
not
guy.
lived up to that
No.
level of money. I mean, go through the free agents. I'm probably missing one that did hit.
Yeah, all the guys they've signed at linebacker and D-line are all
none of them have
they're
panned
okay.
out to the way that you would hope they pan out for the
Yeah.
money they've allocated.
Ogbo Okoronkwo, he went backwards this year. What did he do? Just a guy.
Enough. Yeah.
They added. He did sign the center. I think Pocic, who was good, but he didn't have a good year this year.
They traded for him. Remember when Nick Harris got hurt and then they traded to Seattle?
It was a trade.
I'm pretty sure.
They had, but yeah, okay. So that was fine.
Still, that was a good
acquired
acquisition.
him.
Yeah,
That was a fine
good
move.
acquisition.
Jerome Ford's a nice backup running back. I mean, I'm grasping at straws here.
The best offensive playmaker they've drafted in 5 years is Jerome Ford. That should tell you everything you need. You need to know.
That is true.
And he was a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean,
It's sad times, guys.
it's just, and so now we're expected to say, okay, well, he's effed it up for 5 years, but the 6th year is going to be the charm. He's had more bites at the apple than any other GM the Browns have had.
Well, maybe it's got to be partly the owner's fault here too.
Yeah, certainly.
D. Podesta's done nothing here, and he has a job.
Yeah, I don't know we don't know what he does and how much. Like, he's the boogeyman for everybody, that he's to blame for everything. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe
if you have power,
yeah,
in say over what the team's doing on the field,
yeah,
you shouldn't have a job for 10 years.
Podesta should be fired too. They should fire D. Podesta and Berry today. They should be fired right this second. Jimmy, listen, you and your hillbilly son-in-law, who shouldn't be a member of the organization either, go fire these guys. Paul D. Podesta is stealing your money. Now, I know, based on your history, Jimmy, that you're in favor of stealing money. We get that. But you don't want money stolen from you. You don't want that. You're a billionaire. Billionaires don't like to share their money. So go take it back, Jimmy. Take back. Be greedy. And fire Paul D. Podesta. He has no clue what he's doing and does not belong running an organization. Andrew Berry, it's enough already. I'm pro-nerd all the way, but the nerd has failed. Let's find a happy medium between the football guy who's too much of a dummy to follow any statistics and the nerd who doesn't know anything about gut for football. We need something in between. The Browns haven't had that. Let's go. Let's go. Berry sucks. He is absolutely terrible. And it's a disgrace that I haven't gone this far before. Where have I been on this?
I like the passion right now.
This is ridiculous.
I like the squeak.
Yeah.
I
don't know why I'm squeaking.
Bull, now I'm not going to
Yeah.
believe you on any passionate rants unless you squeak.
Unless I squeak, like Peter Brady. Go ahead, Anthony. What do you got? You got
All right,
something
guys,
for us?
before we go on to our next Myles Garrett topic here, I want to give you a quick reminder that if you're looking for tickets for your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Game Time Picks, it's even easier, and let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Game Time Picks for a while now. This is why I love it. It curates all of it. I don't have to shop through everything, and I go to a lot of concerts, so looking for tickets is a pain in the neck. I love that Game Time's Picks just shows me my best deals, and there's no hidden fees. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund you 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Where is Anthony getting all this money for concerts? I mean, what is it?
He goes to more concerts than anyone I know.
Big spender he is.
I make a lot of graphics for the show. I don't know.
He does get paid per graphics, though.
Go ahead there, Anthony. What do you
All
got
right,
for us?
so Mike sent me this Fox Sports top 10 all-time Browns last night, and we wanted to talk about it for a couple minutes here on the show.
When did this come out?
It's in
Do we
January.
know?
In January.
All right.
This is January
We already did
2nd is when this was
Fox
tweeted
Sports.
out.
No, like specifically? No. Okay. All right.
We can take it here, Steve. But it ranks Jim Brown number 1, Otto Graham at number 2, Lou Groza at number 3, Joe Thomas, Ozzie Newsome, Leroy Kelly, Dante Lavelli, Paul Warfield, Myles Garrett, and then Clay Matthews Jr. Is Myles Garrett a little too low on that?
I mean, listen, I've heard of all these guys, but half these guys played 1,000 years ago. All right?
My first thought when I saw this was, this is so sad.
Now listen, we got relatives of Lou Groza and Otto Graham that live. Like, I know family members of theirs, and they were great players, but they were basically playing before black players were allowed to play.
Sport.
I mean, it was a different sport. Those days, those guys weren't the athletes like they are today. They were great players. It's hard to compare. I don't see how possibly Paul Warfield or Leroy Kelly were better players than Myles Garrett. But how the hell do I compare a defensive lineman with a wide receiver or a running back? Like, how do you even make that comparison?
What position did Lavelli play?
I honestly don't know. I know his name, but I don't. I should know that. I wish you wouldn't have asked me because now I look like an idiot.
You ask who now?
What
Dante
position Dante
Lavelli.
Lavelli
Receiver.
played?
Receiver.
He was a receiver?
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that, to be honest. But Leroy Kelly was a running back. Ozzie Newsome was a great player. He's a Hall of Famer.
Is he a better player than Myles Garrett all time?
I don't think so.
See, I don't either. And is Joe Thomas a better player all time than Myles Garrett was?
That's a debate.
I think there's a real debate there. I don't know how to necessarily answer.
I don't know how. Otto Graham played in the 40s and 50s.
Jim Brown's one.
I mean, the reality is
Jim Brown one? I don't know.
people think Jim Brown was the greatest freaking football player of all time.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I don't know how would we debate Jim Brown versus Tom Brady? How do you even have how?
It's like the Will Chamberlain thing, man. These guys played so long ago that we just don't know. And he's been the best Brown forever, and so he probably will remain the best Brown forever.
Right. I don't know. I don't. There's really no facts to back any of these things up.
The reality is, and I love Joe Thomas, but Myles Garrett probably ends up with a better career than Joe Thomas just because his what he does.
Longer.
And what he does is more impactful on a big stage.
Yeah, and offensive linemen there's no stats.
There's no stats to really say. I mean, Joe is one of the best left tackles to ever play this game.
Yeah.
But the pass rusher is sexier. So if Myles plays longer than Joe Thomas, and Myles is there's a good chance he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year. We're going to find out.
Yeah, which is amazing because they went 3-14.
Yeah. Which tells you how valuable he is.
Yeah.
That list, whoever made it, good for. I don't know how to argue some of it, but when I look
argue
at
it.
Where Myles Garrett ranks on the guys that I know and I think I can compare it to, and it's really Newsome, Joe Thomas, and Myles in my opinion. Those three are the three that
modern era guys.
Modern era that I at least have some semblance of what they did. And Clay Matthews too, but I don't think he's in the same conversation with the other three I just mentioned there. Myles Garrett. Yeah,
Who?
Clay Matthews number 10.
Yeah, 10.
Myles Garrett has a DPOY to his name. Could potentially have two DPOYs to his name. As good as Joe Thomas was, there's not an Offensive Lineman of the Year award that ever
he would have won it.
I know, but it's
for a decade.
But I don't know how to judge.
It's impossible.
In and out. It's such a hard conversation.
Saying
such a
Joe Thomas is the only way to me to argue Joe Thomas versus Myles Garrett, and I'm not even sure this is a good way. Is where does Joe Thomas rank all time in left tackles, and where does Myles Garrett rank all time in pass rushers?
Let me ask you
They're
this.
probably around the same point.
And you two watched way more Joe Thomas than I did, so I will defer to you guys. In your head, there's no right answer.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett lined up against Joe Thomas in 100 pass rush situations. How many times does he get to the quarterback?
Not many.
Impossible.
Yeah, it's a hard question.
That's what I'm saying. That's, I guess, how in my head I'm trying to say. And I didn't watch him enough to know.
Here's what I would say comparing the two guys. And it's probably unfair, but I would say this. I think Joe Thomas in his career played at a consistently higher level than Myles Garrett, which is crazy, but that's what I think.
Week in, week out.
But Myles Garrett's highs are higher than Joe, which sounds silly.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Myles Garrett, and this, don't take this the wrong way, he can take plays off. Joe Thomas could never afford to take a play off. You can't, because you have to be, like you said, so consistent every snap, every pass, every time your quarterback drops back, however many times a game he does.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be on your A game. If you're a left tackle protecting the blind side, Myles Garrett, how many third downs are a game?
15.
Okay, right. So I mean, I'm not saying but the big plays happen on those third downs, right?
Yeah.
Or the red zone, or wherever you got to come up with those big plays where you can be like, okay, I'm going to conserve a little energy on first and second down because third down's coming up. It's a reality.
If a pass rusher has 3 great plays in a game, people think he had a great game.
100%.
If an offensive lineman has 3 bad plays in a game, you think he had a terrible game.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to compare.
Yes.
It's nearly impossible. I mean, deciding who's a better NFL player between Myles Garrett and Joe Thomas is
it's just sad. It's sad that we've had 2 modern-day Hall of Famers in the last decade, and you have nothing to show for it.
No.
Nothing.
No.
At 2 pretty important positions, by the way, too.
Yeah, two of the highest paid positions.
And throw in 2 guys that played at a Hall of Fame level at times, Nick Chubb and Joel Bitonio, who I don't think either one's going to get in the Hall of Fame, but they're not far off. Perennial Pro Bowlers. And you have 1 playoff win for all those guys.
It's not enough.
That's it. It's sad.
Not enough.
Joe Vardon of The Athletic is going to join us. We'll switch gears back to the NBA or back to the Cavs specifically in just a minute. Go ahead, Anthony.
Joe's not here yet, but
yeah.
Here, let me. We'll get the read out of the way so
Yeah.
that when Joe's in, we can bring him right in.
Okay.
The Super Bowl 59, one game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether you're predicting the first touchdown, who will take home the MVP trophy, or the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to place your bets and feel the thrill of every moment. With the live betting going all game long, you can jump into the action, adjust your bets, and ride the wave of excitement from kickoff to the final whistle. Plus, to make the Super Bowl even sweeter, new customers can get $200 when you make your first bet. Just place $5, and if you win, you'll get an extra $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com/UCSS to bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59.
Thank you, Anthony. And like I said, Joe should be joining us shortly. We'll get back to it. We'll see what he thinks about the possibility of the Cavs being able to make any kind of significant trade.
Speaking of Jason wearing hats yesterday,
yeah.
You know, Jason and Joe work together.
Right, sure.
Joe was wearing a fedora, I believe. Is the fedora the one that has a little, like, French cap thing?
I don't know what a French cap thing is.
Fedora? Yeah, he was wearing a fedora last night at the game.
Joe was wearing a fedora? Is this true?
Let me make sure I know what a fedora. I'm saying the right thing for a fedora.
What?
Show me the hat.
I'm looking it up. It's a fedora.
This is great.
Oh, Joe, wait. Let's bring in Joe in because we got to find. This is a fedora.
He was wearing one of these.
Well, we'll ask him.
Oh yeah. Those are like those.
We got Joe?
Kangol caps.
Joe Vardon, the Athletic. Joe, is it true you were wearing a fedora last night at the game? Is that true?
False. And Mikey is showing his abundant lack of culture, taste, and fashion. It's a newsboy hat.
What is it? I don't know what that is. What's a newsboy hat?
You know what a newsboy hat is? It's it's like a cap. I thought about.
Is that the thing that Dave Spano used to wear all the time, Dustin?
Yeah, it's kind of like
I'm looking at a picture.
It's kind of like a beret.
Oh, you're wearing a beret?
No, not a beret.
Similar though.
This.
Oh yeah. Okay, all right. That's not a fedora, Mike. What's wrong with you?
I don't know culture or fashion. Hand up, guilty as charged. Sorry, Joe.
I mean, I don't know fashion either, but I know that's not a fedora. Anyway.
And listen, I'm sorry for not being in studio with you guys today, but I'm not coming into studio unless Jason Lloyd picks me up in that chariot of his and drives me downtown. So
I mean that's fair. He did spend $200,000 on his car, so
Stop it.
He should drive you in.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Joe, last night, I don't know why. I usually don't make a big deal at all about regular season, but Evan Mobley played so timid yesterday that I don't know. It was a really disheartening loss for me for the Cavs yesterday. Am I going too far? Is that prisoner of the moment?
No. I mean, I've been thinking about how to perceive these Cavs-Celtics games, and I did think that the first two were really important because they were telling of where this team was as compared to when last season ended. You know, I thought both the Cavs and the Celtics were fully engaged in November, and, they were both awesome. And so in those two games, we saw how the Cavs stood up. And if you look at the final score last night, it was another close game. And so you feel overall like they can compete. So that part is good. I don't think it's an overreaction because, the concern with the Cavs, who have been awesome all year long, is just that when things turn physical, can their guys handle it? And Porzingis out there, he was not in the series last year when Evan played fairly well, actually very well towards the end. Porzingis gave him a really hard time last night, and so we know Evan is battling an injury with the calf, and we know that he is definitely bigger and stronger than he was last year. Isaiah Hartenstein said as much. But yeah, I mean, look at who the losses are against. Oklahoma City, Boston, Houston twice, Atlanta twice. That's most of their defeats, and the same thing is happening every time they lose a game, which is the other team pushes them around in the spots that historically they have. This group has been pushed around.
Joe, we were talking about it earlier. These losses to these good teams that they're going to face in the postseason, I think it actually helps them be pushed to make moves here as they approach the deadline. One name that has been talked about is DeAndre Hunter with the Hawks, maybe for Karis LeVert in some sort of package. Is that real? Is that something that would be realistic? Make sense at all?
Well, look, they have a 6'9" wing who can move his feet and shoot. That's Dean Wade, but Dean is hurt again, and it's unfortunate, of course, for him and for the organization. But if you take a step back and look at him long term, as this team has been good, whether it's play-in years or the first year against the Knicks or last year's playoff run, like Dean is unfortunately either hurt or not ready to go at this time of year. And so when you consider what we were just talking about the lack of physicality, especially on the perimeter, if Dean is not somebody you can count on to fill that void, then you need to consider addressing it because they are good enough to win an NBA championship for sure. So I think the preferred target there is Cam Johnson. He's more dynamic. He's a better shooter, a better scorer. But DeAndre may be more accessible. The price tag isn't as high. And when you talk about LeVert, who has a long history with Kenny Atkinson, and I believe Karis is having one of the better years of his career individually, but when you think about what the Cavs need in the playoffs, Donovan and Darius are going to play extended minutes. Certainly Jarrett and Evan will play extended minutes. So, the emergence of Ty Jerome as the third ball handler and as a scorer who can shoot, with all due respect to Karis, but if you're talking about roster building, then Karis, I guess, is more expendable now than he has been at any point in his Cleveland tenure. So, if the Hawks have interest in Karis, then that is a deal that makes some sense as we move towards tomorrow's deadline.
Joe, you mentioned Dean Wade, and when you dive into some of the numbers, the win-loss differentiation when he plays versus when he doesn't is absurd. This season they're 30-5 with Dean Wade. They are 10-5 without him. Going back to the 2022 season, they have a 72.2 win percentage with Dean Wade and just a 53.2% win percentage without Dean Wade. He's like their 7th, 8th best player, 9th, you could pick the number. Can a team be that dependent on a guy that low down the talent chart in terms of win-loss? To me, it sounds absurd that a role player is that critical for the Cavs in terms of winning and losing games.
It is absurd, and you can say it's an anomaly the way that the Grizzlies used to win all those games when Ja was out and they had Tyus Jones. And you would say, well, wait a minute. Tyus Jones is nowhere near the player that Ja is. How are they winning these games? And, the answer is more about the fit for Tyus and sort of what he brought to the team, things that you can't measure in a box score. And I think the Dean factor is, they have two small guards. And then they have Evan and Jarrett, who, up until this year, were both kind of a very similar player. This year is when Evan started to shoot the ball. So Dean is that wing, that 3-and-D wing. He gives you floor spacing. He can body up with a bigger player in the post. He can move his feet enough to handle some of the bigger wings that are in the league. So is he your best player? Not even close. Like you said, you had him as your 7th or 8th best guy. Okay. But the way he fits with a Donovan and Darius, who both of them are about the same height, and then also, with those two bigs playing together, somebody like that, they need to take that next step. And so, again, when you start talking about DeAndre Hunter or the Cam Johnson interest, that's why, because they need that player. And unfortunately, Dean just has not been able to stay healthy at the most critical times.
Joe, I want your thoughts on Luka Doncic and the trade. Obviously, everybody in the NBA seems to have been stunned. Were you yet another person that thought Sham's Twitter had been hacked when you saw the trade?
Bro, I was sleeping. I mean, come on. Like this was. I mean, what time was it? Was it? It might even have been after midnight. Like
it was.
Yeah.
12:15.
You certainly. Yeah. I mean, you wake up Sunday morning, and there's 115 text messages and all the alerts on your phone. I will say that I was not I didn't think it was fake.
Okay.
Because, as with most things, just because of my background and history and all of ours collectively here in Cleveland, my thoughts pretty quickly went to LeBron. And, I'm aware that this man is considering retirement. I don't think this is his last year, but the end is in sight. It is. I mean, he's 40 years old, and he's been doing this for 22 years, and there just comes a time where enough's enough. And when you get a guy like Luka, who's two things, he is a megastar who happens to play the same position as LeBron. So this immediately made some sense to me. But the parts that were harder for me to understand or to really think through is what it meant for LeBron and how he would react, what the Lakers felt about what to do with him. I knew about the no trade clause. And what you've seen, either through my reporting and colleagues reporting that LeBron had intended to stay with the Lakers, and then you see Luka's passion for playing with LeBron and LeBron being open to this. This works out, and it's probably going to smooth the transition away from him, and it may invigorate him, if not only for this season, but maybe this year and next year. So that's why the trade, while stunning, it wasn't to the point where I thought it was fake, because there were some things going on there.
But why would Dallas do this? I just don't understand. Why, at the very least, why not shop him around?
Is there something more going on that we're not seeing here behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is. And I've been saying this all week, like I'm not going to go on air and provide conjecture for something like as serious as this. Like, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know if there was one defining moment or one thing, that sort of just snapped on the part of the Mavericks. But what is clear is that for a while, that the Mavericks have grown concerned about Luka's long-term future there. Luka insisted yesterday, and his agent has privately, that they never made any kind of comment that would suggest that Luka would refuse a Supermax extension from them. But at the same time, there was paralyzing fear, and I know this to be true, that, by the way, you guys are doing me dirty right now. Good.
I know. That's a terrible picture.
That is a really bad picture, although I do like my hair.
Yeah.
But no, there was certainly this fear, that paralyzing fear in the organization that they might lose him. And then I think that there became a discussion about, do we want to commit these dollars to him? And the way they described it Sunday in Cleveland was that Anthony Davis and Max Christie advanced their culture. And what's implied is that it's in a way that Luka could not. So, we are left with no choice but to assume that there was some sort of turn on the part of the Mavericks where they made the decision to move on from him now. Because clearly, for as good of a player as Anthony Davis is, and as much as they say he fits what they want to do defensively, like, they could have shopped Luka to Milwaukee and maybe gotten Giannis. I mean, it goes that high up, and they didn't do it, and there's a reason why.
Joe, I want you to put your GM hat on here. The deadline's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. The Cavs currently have the best record in the Eastern Conference. But as currently constructed, are they good enough to win an NBA championship, or do you think Kobe Altman and company have to go out and make some sort of improvement to the roster to solidify themselves as legitimate title contenders?
If I had a GM hat, Kobe would take it off my head, light it on fire, and throw it in the wastebasket. I'm pretty sure that's true. Listen, the two best teams all year are the Cavs and the Thunder. and it's really not close. And I don't think either of them are going to take a big swing here at the deadline. And so what we are left to decide is the last however many years since the Warriors dynasty, we haven't had a repeat champion. Is that because the regular season matters and the very best team during the regular season typically goes on to win? Or are we to assume that, like, when we've seen like teams like the Lakers get to the Western Conference Finals after being garbage, or the Celtics stinking for a half a year and making it to the finals, or the Heat, doing the same thing, are we to assume that this regular season has become so unimportant that the teams that sort of bide their time and coast and then make these adjustments can get into a place where they become the actual contenders? I am going to side on the fact that either the Cavs or the Thunder are going to win the title. That's what I'm going to say, because we've seen over the last 5 years that the best teams get there and they win, but only one. So we're going to see a surprise in one of the conferences. My phone right now, the reason why I was late getting in is there is all kinds of trades discussion going on right now involving the Miami Heat and the Phoenix Suns, and the Warriors are involved, and it's nuts. So, one of these conferences is going to have a surprise. But, to your question, Mikey, do the Cavs have enough? They do. Will it translate into getting there in June? I just don't know.
Joe, just to follow up, I know you said you don't think there's going to be a big move, which makes sense. Do you see them doing anything, like even a small addition, and could we see Kevin Love in some sort of buyout market come back to the Cavs?
Well, I have been hearing that the Cavs have become an attractive place for buyout players.
Yeah.
But they don't have room for that right now. So to answer your question, Adam, I think we're going to see something small. I think they need to move someone to create space so that these buyout players, whether it's a Ben Simmons, whether it's Kevin, which fans would lose their minds over that one. For those guys to come back, you're going to have to make a smaller move to clear space on the roster for that.
Joe, great stuff as always, buddy. Good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Joe.
Great to see you guys anytime.
Thanks, Joe. Joe's the best covering the NBA. Doesn't think the Cavs are going to make a huge move. Thinks they're going to make a small move. Doesn't think the Thunder are going to make a big move either.
And just one thing on the buyout market.
Yeah.
The Cavs have 15 guys on the roster. You can't have 16. So if they're going to bring in a buyout guy, it means they have to get rid of somebody. So that's why Jason's idea of trading Thompson and Merrill, or Thompson and Craig Porter Jr. to a team like Utah, just so they could take out the salary, then sign guys, is the realistic way to bring in a buyout guy. If they don't make any kind of trades, they're not in the buyout market. Just a heads up.
You can't just cut one of those guys?
You can, but then you're still over the luxury tax.
Right. But in theory, you could cut Tristan.
In theory, you could cut Tristan and sign somebody, but then you're still in the same financial. It doesn't actually help them financially.
Right, but if the goal for us, we don't care about.
We don't care about the money.
True.
Would they do it?
I'm just saying I think that'd be unlikely.
There'd probably be some team that would take them just to take them. That they would probably more likely to do it that way.
Yeah.
And if they don't make a trade before the deadline, even if it's small, it means they're probably not going to be involved in the buyout market.
The big thing he said there, guys, at the end.
Cavs coming to chip.
Cavs Thunder.
Yeah.
One of those two teams, he said.
Wow, I know.
That was the whole interview was great.
Yeah.
That left me stunned.
Yeah. He said, and the Cavs have been better than the Celtics for most of this year. I'm not as confident as he is against the Celtics, but we'll see.
Health plays such a big role.
Yeah.
And
sure.
If they're both 100% healthy, we'd probably all pick the Celtics. But there's no guarantee.
That's true. And Porzingis is very injury prone.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's more injury prone than any of the Cavs' big four guys.
Absolutely.
So
not more injury prone than Dean Wade.
No, but yeah.
It is crazy. Real quick, Cam Johnson has not played that many more games than Dean Wade over the last 4 years.
Really?
Yeah. Now, part of that is the Nets suck and there's a ton of load management in there. But when you look at the numbers of games played over the last 4 years, Cam Johnson's above Dean Wade, but it's not where you that guy is certainly a lot more reliable than a Dean Wade is.
We're going to switch back to the Browns in a minute, but just to follow up also on something he said about Kevin Love. Somebody else, who else brought that up with us recently?
Well, I mentioned it to Dan Titus, who was on from Yahoo.
That's right. Listen, it was a little up and down after LeBron left with Kevin Love. Obviously, there were some good moments, and people, overall the re-signing of him didn't really go well. But it would be cool if he came back to be part of this team.
And I think he'd be a great fit too. I really do.
Yeah. Well, he helps you on the glass, and obviously he can shoot.
And a playoff experience.
Right.
Veteran leadership. And
although he's not known for his defense, he played some historic defense for a minute in big game, and he knows the pressure of those big games. Yeah. I don't know.
You a Kevin Love fan, Dustin?
Yeah. I mean, I am, especially now. Like, he wouldn't be here to be the Kevin Love that we got in 16. You know what I mean? Or whatever it was, 14.
Yeah.
He would be a guy that would essentially give you whatever minutes, 5, 8, 10 minutes a game, and be a veteran that has been there and is a champion.
Yeah.
I mean, Tristan Thompson
attitude.
On the court is useless.
Yeah, Kevin Love is more valuable
if
than
you replace Tristan's spot with Kevin Love, you still got that playoff experience.
And, dude, Kevin Love can still hit a 3.
Yeah, he can still play. Tristan can't play anymore.
Right.
So that's a big difference there. All right, Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, before we get into our next Browns topic, if you're looking for tickets to get into your next big event, like whether it's a concert, comedy show, sports game, finding the right ticket at the right place can be a headache. But Game Time Picks it's never been easier. Let me show you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket prices. I've been using Game Time Picks for now. I use it to get all my concert tickets. It's great. I recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, and I couldn't believe the value. It was amazing. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund you 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with an easy cancellation option if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create your account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
We were talking earlier when we first started the show about, are the Browns the worst franchise in all of sports? And it kind of lines up with what we were talking about then, where the question is the Myles Garrett trade request, is this rock bottom since '99? Like, in 16 they were winless. They won one game the year before. There was a stretch, I think, where they went what was it? 4 They won 4 out of 50 games, whatever it is. Is this rock bottom? Is this even, do you feel worse about the Browns now than you did after they went winless?
It's hard to say yes to that because winless is really, really rock bottom. It really is bad. But to see a franchise seemingly make the turn into a playoff caliber team, which they were in that, 19 and 20, 21, that range with Baker Mayfield, that changed the trajectory in our minds of what the team was going to be. We don't suck anymore. Well, now they did the Watson thing, which got us so excited about the team. Thought it would take us to the next level.
Yeah.
I mean, this arguably is rock bottom because you've got a Hall of Fame player giving the middle finger to the organization.
Yes.
It's really bad. The fans have always felt like they've been mistreated or whatever, and now you got the best player we've had in the last 30 years, saying it, and asking out, and the fans are supporting him.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
I wasn't here for 1-15, 0-16, so my perspective is a little different. But I can't imagine it getting lower than this for a lot of what Dustin just said, but also there's no hope. And I don't mean that it can't change. Yes, you could draft a Jaden Daniels and a quarterback and change it around, but as we said earlier, they have the number 2 pick, and do you trust the general manager to make said pick? Well, I thought you did a great job yesterday going through. They don't have a quarterback. They don't really have any running backs. They have Jerry Jeudy and no receivers. Their offensive line is old. Your best defensive lineman is requesting a trade. Your best linebacker may never play football again. Denzel Ward has had 6 concussions in his career. Yeah. He is 1 hit away from potentially being done as well. The young talent on this team is not where you want it to be, and if you're going to be bad, there's always hope that, hey, we have these picks, we have these young assets. You have the hope of the franchise to turn around. But with the cap situation, with the Deshaun Watson contract and the whole situation just lingering around this team, I don't know where that beacon of hope is unless you trust Andrew Berry to nail that number 2 pick and particularly nail it with a quarterback. It's not a great quarterback draft class according to all the experts. We don't know how it's going to pan out. And do you trust Andrew Berry? My answer is no. So, yeah, I don't know how it gets much lower than this.
So, obviously, at this point, it's hard to believe that is so many years ago at this point. It's been almost a decade since that.
Was it 16?
16, yeah.
And also that year we won the title.
The Cavs won the title. The Guardians were one win. Indians were 1 win away. Like, it was a great year for the rest of the sports.
So the Browns sort of got a little bit of a pass there, too.
Yeah. I mean, that summer was amazing.
Oh, my God.
It was an amazing summer. And an amazing fall. And then it went down the crapper. But, yes, everybody was in such a joyous state. It is a little prisoner of the moment to say it's worse now. But ultimately, you guys have already hit on a lot of the reasons why I think it is worse now. Because part of the reason it's worse now, when they were bad with Hugh Jackson and they went 1-15 and 0-16, it was just a continuation of years where they were terrible. Yes, they had the Derek Anderson year where they almost made the playoffs. They had the year with Brian Hoyer where
they got to 7-4.
Yeah, and thought. I declared them a playoff team.
They had the great win over the Bengals. Yes. It was a Thursday game or Monday game.
Yeah, it was a night game.
Thursday game, 7-4.
Right.
And then the following week it went to hell in a handbasket with Josh Gordon and Johnny Manziel.
That's right. But, so you had those things briefly. But with Kevin Stefanski and with Baker to some degree, there was this sense that they had raised the floor for the franchise.
Yeah.
Like the Browns' floor forever, from the 90s till Stefanski and Baker, the Browns' floor was the bottom. They were the dreck of the league. Not every year, but it felt like they could be the dreck of the league every year. And then Stefanski and Baker in 2020 go to the playoffs. And right before the year before, and then after that, they didn't go to the playoffs for a couple of years, but they were competitive. They weren't the dreck of the league. They had some talent. They had some talent in their prime. And then last year, yes, I'm saying now I look back, it was unsustainable, and they won in kind of a weird way that you can't really win. But you felt, even if we admitted that it was unsustainable, you still felt like, look at what Kevin Stefanski did with this team. They have a terrible quarterback situation, and yet they're still good. And then the bottom just fell out.
Yeah, it's like a box, cratered.
I know 3-14 is not 0-16. That's not much of a difference.
Correct.
It really is not. And they were arguably the worst team in football. I know Tennessee, gets the tiebreaker to get the first pick, but they were arguably the worst team in football. Throw in the fact that the division right now is even better than it's been.
The AFC is a conference.
The AFC, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Joe Burrow, you have Lamar Jackson, you have Josh Allen.
Stroud.
Yeah. And beyond, the top four guys.
Allen.
The four best guys in football.
Allen, Burrow, Lamar, and Mahomes. They're the four best quarterbacks in the league. And they're all in your conference, and two are in your division. They're in a terrible cap position, which wasn't the case when they were 0-16.
You're selling me.
They had an abundance of draft picks at the time. Now, they've got all their draft picks back now, but it's not like they have extra draft picks right now.
They don't have 2 firsts in a draft.
No, they got an extra, what do they have this year? An extra third, maybe?
An extra third, a couple.
And that's nice. It's nice to have an extra third, but it's not, huge unless you nail it. Plus, we have no faith in the GM. We had faith in the coach, and a lot of us have lost faith in the coach.
Wavering. He started the season hot season.
At best, wavering.
Yep.
And so the best player wants to, at that point, you still had Joe Thomas at that time. He didn't want to be out of here. Myles Garrett wants out. We hate the owner. We hate the GM. A lot of people hate the coach. There's nothing to look forward to quarterback. Nobody thinks there's going to be a good quarterback in this draft for them to get. Again, that may be wrong, but that's the general consensus is.
Oh, by the way, they're trying to build a new stadium.
And they're trying to build a new stadium, and there's this feeling that the Browns don't care about winning right now. They just want to win when they move into that new stadium.
Yeah.
and you throw that all in then yes, right now, it seems like this is the rock bottom for a franchise that has the worst winning percentage since 99 of any team in the three sports we talk about, baseball, football, and basketball. The worst. Not the fifth worst, the eighth worst. There's 100. How many teams with baseball, football, and basketball? 30, 92. There's 92 teams.
Full and Fox math.
And the Browns have the worst winning percentage of the 92 by a lot. Yeah, this is it. And again, doesn't mean 2 years from now, 3 years from now, they can't be on their way up. This year, they could be trending in the right direction.
Shedeur could be a hit.
Right now, this moment in time,
yes,
things feel very hopeless.
Mm-hmm. My question now, because I think we're all in agreement, right? This is Can it get lower? Like, is there anything that can actually sink you?
Well, if they draft Shedeur or Cam Ward at 2, and they're not any good.
Yeah,
and then you fire Stefanski, and then you want to draft another quarterback.
Good point. Yeah.
And you're starting over because if this season, if they're terrible again this season, Stefanski and Berry are going to get fired, and then you're starting over again. And then if you drafted a quarterback, the new guy may not want that quarterback, and then it's a whole
But at least there's a new GM and coach. You have hope again.
That's true.
You have that feeling of, okay, this is the group that's going to turn it around.
I don't know that it
just feels like there's a lot of people here that have different ideas on how quickly this thing should get turned around. Like, it basically has to be a teardown, yet the franchise doesn't want to do that. Myles Garrett doesn't want to do that.
Stefanski doesn't want to do that.
Stefanski doesn't want to do it. Like, Barry, Stefanski, and Garrett, these guys want to win now.
Yeah.
Because their jobs are on the line. Myles Garrett, not so much, because he's going to get paid no matter what, wherever he goes. But, like, they're at a crossroads because they're not going to win right now.
No, not on any kind of high level.
Well, the only chance they have of winning relatively soon is to trade Myles Garrett. Period.
No, well, no, not if they nail it at quarterback.
I still think you need to have players to throw the football to.
Sure, you need more guys, no doubt. They need to add. They need
elite talent, but you can't get in free agency.
No, you're right. Or very rarely, once in a while, like
a guy here or there. But you're not going to be able to build like David Njoku's had one really good month of his career, basically.
Yeah,
and he's a talented.
Same thing
dude.
with Jerry Jeudy.
Same thing
1 or 2 months.
Like so can we count on those guys?
No, not to be stars. They're good players.
You need an elite running back right now.
Yep.
You need an elite number 1 wide receiver right now. And you probably need another tight end right now.
Yeah.
Not to mention an offensive line.
And a quarterback.
So let's do that without any first-round picks.
With 1 first-round pick.
Right.
Yeah, they probably, I haven't looked at every team, but they have to have, if not the least amount of talent under 29, in the top 5 in terms of least talent under 25. How could they not? Because we just named the very few guys. If you can't, under 29.
If you can't score any points, what's the point of stopping anybody? I mean, Myles Garrett, you want to pay this guy all this money to do what? To be the defensive player of the year on a 3-14 football team?
They could have gone 3-14 without him.
100%.
Yeah, that's it.
They could have won 5 games without him.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's
right. Some of those games,
negligible.
The only thing that moves the needle significantly is the quarterback, maybe the coach to some degree. But here's the thing, as you said, Dustin. I know I believe Zach Jackson wrote about this. I can't remember if he just tweeted about it or wrote about it. I didn't get a chance to read his article this morning. I think he wrote about it. But you're in a situation, and this happens all the time in the NFL, especially with bad teams. The GM and coach are fighting for their job. So what the Browns should do this offseason, what's better for the organization may not be what's better for Berry and Stefanski.
Not personally.
So what Jimmy Haslam has to do, in my opinion, is he either has to, like, if he's not going to fire Berry, he's not going to fire Stefanski.
He's got to give him some job security.
If he's not going to fire Berry, now they have job security in terms of contracts.
Yeah, but
that means nothing.
Jimmy Haslam's got to go to Berry and Stefanski and say, listen, Andrew, I'm not firing you next year no matter what. You need to make a move that's best for the organization long term.
Yeah.
I know that might work against what could help you potentially keep your job next year. I'm not going to hold it against you. And I know he could say that, and then he could go back on that. But what screws organizations all the time
is mixed timelines.
Yes. And if Andrew Berry's like, Well, I got to sign all these. I can't trade Myles Garrett. If I trade Myles Garrett, that makes it more likely I'm going to get fired. Well, if he has that attitude into every move he makes, then that's bad for the Browns.
So, not to tie this back to basketball, but Nico Harrison, the Mavs GM who made the Luka trade, basically said, and you can believe, I don't agree with this. This is what he said.
Yeah.
I didn't want to shop Luka, get 10 first-round picks. I'm not going to be here to make those picks. I think I'll be here 2-3 years tops. I think Anthony Davis can win his championship in 2-3 years. That's why I made the move. I don't agree, but that was his reasoning. If Andrew Berry trades Myles Garrett for future picks, and Andrew Berry, there's no guarantee he's going to be around to make those. We just had a whole 25-minute conversation about why we probably all agree he should not be making the number 2 pick in the first place, rather than as future picks. So if you're Andrew Berry, like, what's your incentive? And Kevin Stefanski, I've said he's going to be on the hot seat to start the season, whether that's right or wrong. He wants to win.
Right.
And I understand.
But he's ultimately not making the pick, so it really doesn't matter.
Saying, in the big picture of the Browns organization, Stefanski wants to win. They all want to win, obviously, but to keep his job, he needs to win and at least show progress with a young quarterback if they're not going to win games.
And winning meaning compete for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right now.
And it's they're just that's why I do think this is ultimately rock bottom.
Right.
There's so many mixed signals and cross paths right now that I don't know how they straighten it out to figure out what's best for the future of the franchise.
Well, what's best for to me, if I'm Jimmy, first I'd cut out a few brain cells to be Jimmy. And
you'd give a few brain cells to get some cash.
That's true. Damn right I would.
Oh, yeah.
I saw. Speaking of which, sidebar real quick. I'll pull a Ken Carman sidebar here. Actually, Nick Wilson's a big sidebar guy too. Love you, Nick.
But you don't love Ken?
I love Ken too. Yes, he actually texted me randomly out of the blue to talk about the Rocky movies.
Still can't get a phone call from him.
What's going on? Let's go, Ken. Make that call.
Yeah.
But anyway, I saw this tweet that said, would you rather have an 850 credit score, $6,000 a week, or $5 million if you could have one of those three things? And I'm
$5 million.
I understand that first of all, the 850 credit score, who cares if you have the money, the credit score?
Yeah, I'm liquid, baby.
And I got a good credit score anyway. Not far off from 850, baby.
Yeah.
But
I am.
That could change, though. That could change.
Yeah.
In years, it could change. But here's the thing: the $6,000 a year, I get it. After a certain amount of years, you'd have more than $5 million. But $5 million changes your life away, right away, and you could take just $1 million, invest it, and then you're going to make more than $6,000 a week off of that. Anyway, that was a sidebar, but it was a crap. What made me think of that money? Oh, because as you saying, you give up the brain cells for the money.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For $5 million, I'd cut out some brain cells. But Jimmy Haslam, what he should do is, he should, today, go to Kevin Stefanski and say, hey, Kevin, I'm about to fire Andrew Berry. He's out of here. This is the final straw with Myles. You and I together are going to find the right GM to help you make this team a winner. You are my coach. You're going to be my coach through the end of your contract, no matter what happens. And and if he has to go out back on that, so be it. But make Kevin Stefanski feel like you're the guy. You will make all decisions on the field. The GM will pick the players.
You essentially be empowering Stefanski.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, and say Paul DePodesta will have nothing to do with the game plan. He's gone too. You're not picking the players, but once the players are on the roster, you make every decision. It's your team once they're on the team. And we're going to, together, find a GM that's right, that believes in our vision, and he's going to make the picks. But we're going to make decisions on what's good for the Browns. Yeah, we want to win, but we got to make decisions that are best for this organization in the long term.
I like it.
That's what they should do. I doubt they'll do it,
but
that's what they should do. Make Kevin Stefanski confident in his power and his job, get rid of Berry and DePodesta, and find a GM with Kevin Stefanski that can work with him, that is all about, hey, if these quarterbacks are not worth taking it to, then don't do it. Fine. Don't do it. But don't force it because you're afraid you're going to lose your job, and don't not do it because you're afraid to make a mistake either. So that's what I would do. I think that would, be smart, but we'll hope for the best for Jimmy. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, before we move on, guys, we're going to go back to the Cavs here. And Mike prepared a lot of nerd numbers for this Cavs topic. But if you want more nerd numbers, and if it's not enough for you at the end of the show today, he does do the Ultimate Cavs show. Mike, you got any plans for the Ultimate Cavs show coming up here?
Yeah, we're going to do a 3 o'clock show tomorrow as soon as the deadline ends, reacting to anything the Cavs do or don't do. Maybe 4 o'clock to give them an hour to
I think you should wait, because
sometimes
sometimes they trickle out a little later.
Maybe 4 o'clock, but we'll do some sort of Ultimate Cavs show tomorrow with some live reaction to the Cavs' deadline moves.
All right. There you go.
There you go. So.
Yes.
Deadline's tomorrow.
Yes.
We know it's tomorrow. How many more targets do we think are realistic options for the Cavs? Mike, I know you had some ideas. We've got some rumors to talk about. Take it away.
Okay, sure. There's the report that came out yesterday that the Cavs are expressing interest in DeAndre Hunter, who is the small forward for the Atlanta Hawks. They've kind of been linked to Hunter for a while. Chris Fedor reported this morning, which I had heard this before, but Fedor confirmed it, that had the Hawks not traded up to number 4 in the 2019 draft, they may have taken DeAndre Hunter at 5 instead of Darius Garland, which would have been the wrong pick. Garland's a better player, but they've liked DeAndre Hunter for quite a while. He's best friends with Ty Jerome. They won the national championship together at the University of Virginia. And he's another 6'8". He's a 7'2" wingspan, having the best offensive season of his career.
Playing less minutes, too, by the way.
Playing fewer minutes, coming off the bench. He's in the top 5 in FanDuel for 6th man of the year right now.
He'd start for the Cavs probably, right?
Either 6-man start, but he'd be their 3, and you can close with him at the 3 or the 4.
Right.
To kind of solidify the closing
like 28
lineup.
minutes for them right now?
Yeah, 27, 28, in that range. But they have Atlanta's a bunch of wings, so all their minutes are kind of lower.
They're all the same kind of guy.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
much? What's the gap between him and Strus?
Less of he's definitely a better defender. He's bigger. He's not necessarily a creator. He's a recipient of offense.
Do they need him to be a creator?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But I dove into some numbers because now Hunter's a target and Cam Johnson's a target. Those are the two biggest names, and they are, if you look at the traditional stat columns, they're side-by-side points, rebounds, assists, shooting, pretty similar. Cam Johnson edges them a little bit, plays a little more, so negligible difference. But when you kind of dive into some of the things that you would look into and how each of those guys would fit in with the Cavs, I think one guy's just a significantly better fit offensively while the other guy's a better fit defensively. So it kind of comes down to, do you prefer offense or defense if you're looking to bring someone in for the Cavs? Those are the traditional numbers, as you can see. Pretty even across the board, slightly more points for Cam Johnson, slightly higher shooting percentages, a few more rebounds, but Atlanta has a bunch of guys that grab boards. The Nets don't, so that's negligible. Johnson is definitely a better playmaker, especially off the dribble. But let's take some of the advanced numbers here. If you guys don't mind me nerding out a tiny bit. Let me make this fit in. So, Bo, we talked about the corner 3 for the Cavs this season, right? They are top 5 in the NBA in corner 3 percentage, corner 3 makes, and corner 3 attempts per game this season.
Which is funny because early in the season they were near the bottom.
Complete flip. And as of late, those have all skyrocketed.
Right, okay.
Cam Johnson is in the 95th percentile of all small forwards, 2 guards in that wing position in corner 3 percentage at 48%. He is an absolutely elite corner 3-point shooter. He's in the 95th percentile. DeAndre Hunter at 38% is at the 55th percentile. So we're talking about a pretty big difference in terms of that particular marksman. And if you look at the Cavs guys who have played the small forward this season, Okoro, Wade, Strus, Niang in certain lineups, Okoro's also in the 95th percentile in corner 3s, but his are considered wide open. No one's guarding him in those. Cam Johnson is as good as you're going to find on the market in terms of corner 3s.
Right.
Pass on drives, that percentage is the other one I want to mention.
You're not getting as many wide opens in the playoffs.
No, but this Cam Johnson is doing this as the number 2 scoring option on Brooklyn. As the number 4 scoring option in Cleveland, I think he could get a ton of open looks.
No, but what I'm saying, just like for Okoro, he's only shooting when he's
I don't buy that number as sustainable in the playoffs.
Right.
The other number, if you pull that back up, is the pass on drive percentage, and this one is why I think Cam Johnson's a perfect fit in this Cavaliers offense. Kenny Atkinson wants driving kicks, right, Bo? We've talked about that 100 times.
Yeah.
The Cavs are also top 5 in number of drives per game and driving kick percentage. So get in the paint, kick out to someone else.
Yeah.
Cam Johnson at 48% in the top 10 percentile of all players in the NBA in driving kick percentage, twice as high as DeAndre Hunter. 48%, if it was on the Cavs right now, is higher than Darius and Donovan, which kind of gives you Donovan's at 46, Darius at 47.
Yeah.
So think of all the times they're getting in the lane and kicking. It's also the second highest number of any real
What is
scoring
Donovan
threat.
and Darius pass on?
46 and 47%. So he's higher than them ever so slightly.
So 24%, is that bad or is that?
That is not only the lowest on the Hawks,
Yeah.
it would be the lowest on the Cavaliers. When he's driving, he's looking to finish by himself.
I don't like that.
And he's not a great rim finisher at 65%.
Yeah.
He's a better defensive player. He's bigger and gives you a little more versatility in terms of he can play the four. He's got a 7'2" wingspan, a little stronger. But from an offensive fit, Cam Johnson is the ideal 2K creative player to plug and play into what Kenny Atkinson wants to do offensively.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, I would take Cam Johnson over DeAndre
Right,
Hunter.
but
DeAndre Hunter would cost a little bit less and probably is a little more realistic.
So obviously the Cavs should go after Cam Johnson.
Yes.
That should be the first choice. Having to give up more should be irrelevant. The only question is, do they have enough to get him? They may have enough to get Hunter. They may not have enough to get. You get Hunter if you can't get Johnson, don't you? Is he worth?
So the trade package that makes sense money-wise is LeVert, Niang, and either the 2031 first-round pick or LeVert, Niang, and Tyson. If you put Tyson in there, you got to get a minimum contract back from Atlanta.
Right.
So I have no idea what Atlanta wants. They don't own their first-round pick this year,
Yeah.
so they're not enticed to tank. San Antonio owns their first-round pick. So even if they bottom out here, they have no – do they want guys –
And they're a playoff team.
They've lost 8 of 9. So
I didn't realize
they're catering since Jalen Johnson got hurt, so they're on the way
true.
down.
Yeah.
But do they want guys that can play now? Do they want future assets?
Right.
Do they want expiring? I have no idea what Atlanta wants.
what do those guys outside of Jalen Tyson maybe? What do those other guys do for a team like the Hawks? I mean,
I don't know, which is why I don't know exactly. Chris Fedor mentioned
Right.
Okoro being the centerpiece of a package in return. He's an expiring, but I don't know what they're looking for.
So why did you not mention Okoro?
I meant LeVert. Sorry, I meant LeVert. Sorry. Karis LeVert. Okoro's not an expiring. LeVert isn't expiring.
Right.
The other thing with the Johnson and Hunter, Cam Johnson, an elite catch and shoot, 43% on catch and shoot threes this year.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a ton of opportunities in Brooklyn. Like, they stick on him.
Yeah, right, sure.
If he's getting open catch and looks from Donovan Darius and the kickouts they get from that,
he's going to get.
It's incredible fit offensively.
Yeah. I know you said that Hunter's better defensively. Is Cam Johnson's defense better than Max Strus?
He's bigger, less physical, but bigger.
Yeah. So it's not like he's going to hurt you defensively.
I don't think it'd be a downgrade defensively. I'm not sure it's a massive upgrade either.
I think the bottom line is I'll trade for either of them. Obviously, I'd rather have Cam Johnson. But if I could get Hunter for the packages you're mentioning, even if I have to give up Jalen Tyson, who showed some promise, I think I'd do it, right? And that also, if you trade 3 players for one of these guys, well, now you have 2 spots for buyout guys.
Yeah, if you include Tyson, they'd have to give you something back, so you'd have one buyout spot open.
Spot.
If you don't, you still have one buyout spot.
But you could also ship Tristan Thompson somewhere if you wanted.
And Hunter and Johnson are both under contract for 2 more years after this year. So it'd be locking him into the cap.
So you have them for next year, too.
And the year after.
Oh, 2 more years after.
They're both under contract.
Oh, so they both make a lot of sense for the Cavs because they're going to hit the apron next year, and it's harder to acquire players once you're there. And those guys are good players. I mean, those guys are clearly your 5th best player either way.
Yes.
Is Hunter better than Ty Jerome as overall?
I think so.
He's done. Yeah, right. So
I
whatever.
So.
I mean,
so I'd be in favor if the rumors and reports are true that they are interested in DeAndre Hunter. I would choose Cam Johnson over DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah.
Cam Johnson's not available. I would like the DeAndre Hunter move, even though I don't necessarily love him as a player. He's an upgrade over what they have and certainly fills some sort of hole in terms of size, defensive ability. He's having his best offensive season, and he's 24 years old.
And, he's young enough that you might think, well, okay, he hasn't been good in terms of driving and kicking, but he's playing on a better team that has a chance to win. Yeah. He's not a superstar. He's going to adjust his game, I would think. I would think to be an NBA player, obviously it's the hardest sport to make because it's the smallest roster. So to be an NBA player, you got to be just a freak. So he's a good enough athlete. He's young enough that I don't think it's set in stone that he's not good at passing the ball. He hasn't been in Atlanta, but he might be. I'm not saying he's going to be great at it, but there's every reason to believe that if you traded him here, that 24% number would go up at least a little.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And being part of this team and this culture.
100%. I just think Johnson's a perfect fit and would slide right in seamlessly. It'd be a little more of a transition for DeAndre Hunter. But Chris Fedor also mentioned a few other names. And Dustin, I'm curious what you think of some of these other names that
Do you want
Fedor
Johnson? You like you going all out for Cam Johnson if you can get him?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's the sexiest one of them all. I think he's the best fit. Atkinson knows him. Like, I don't know. It makes a lot of sense.
Played in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's got experience. Like, there's just a lot of pluses with him. More unknowns with Hunter, but I mean, They're both awesome players. I mean, we'd love to have them.
Yeah. These are some of the other targets that Fedor mentioned. Jeremy Grant from Portland, Javonte Green, Cody Martin, Chris Boucher, Julian Champagne. How do we say his name? It's not Champagne. It's Champagne.
Obi Toppin.
And Obi Toppin.
We've talked about Obi Toppin before. I don't know. I mean, I've heard of the other guys except for Champagne. But you guys tell me what you think, because you know the NBA better than I do.
Put them up there again, one more time.
Let's get that list back up, guys. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, like,
who do we like the most of that group?
Of that particular group?
I mean, Jeremy Grant's a good player. Obi Toppin, I like. I don't. The other, like Cody Martin, Javonte Green, don't know enough about.
Martin, no, I'm out on Martin.
Okay.
I don't think he's an upgrade. He's a Coral, but I don't think he's any
Who's
better
the best offensive player in that group?
Jeremy Grant. But he makes the most money, and he's got a huge contract for the next 4 years.
Is he not even as good? Is he as good as Hunter? Is he better than Hunter?
I don't like his game.
Yeah.
I think so. He's older.
Yeah.
Some people
he's
probably
been
would say
around
he's a little better. I don't particularly love his game. I like Toppin. We talked about him.
Isn't Toppin like he's like a bigger Okoro, isn't he?
Like a defensive guy?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a super athlete.
Yeah.
He played at Dayton,
Yeah.
like back in the tournament.
Chris Boucher's a guy, stretch 5, who I like. I'm not sure Toronto would trade him. He makes $10 million though, so it's a little bit of a weird contract. But he's a guy that if you could bring in is an immediate upgrade at your 5 position that ends your backup big dilemma, and that means Dean Wade can play more of the wing, and you have a little more size and versatility.
Speaking of the tournament, I watched. As you know, I was a huge St. John's fan as a kid, and now they have the best team they've had in like 40
that
years.
defensive
Watched the Marquette game
possession.
last night?
I watched every play.
Okay.
I
The last
DVR'd
possession was
the Cavs
awesome.
game to get it later. That
game.
game was unbelievable. The thing about St. John's is when it comes
By the
to,
way, they almost got beat by Providence over on
they did.
Saturday.
They blew a big lead against
Sunday,
Providence,
yeah.
but they've only lost one game in the conference. They got to be the best defensive team in the country, if not number one, certainly top 2 or 3. They play everybody on their team. They just run all over the court. Nobody gets an open look against them. They can't hit threes. That's the only thing bad about them. So I don't know if that's going to come back to bite them in the tournament. But they have such great athletes. They get to the basket, and they play incredible defense. I'm having so much fun watching them.
Is Patino their coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You know, Patino he wins. He's a scumbag, but wherever he wins, wherever he goes, he wins. And St. John's decided when they brought Patino back, they're like, we're spending money. We're in New York City, and now St. John's, which
he's a vampire, dude.
He's unbelievable. St. John's, which had done nothing for 20 years, now they're spending money. The Garden's going nuts. You know,
of course it is, dude. It's just like a sleeping giant there with college hoops.
And they got like a bunch of guys who they don't have any, like, not one player on their team I'm sure is definitely an NBA player. But they got a bunch of guys that are like they could be NBA players.
Big East is
they
real competitive this year, man.
It's fun.
I've been watching. Fox does a nice job covering them, so I've been watching a lot of those games.
Yeah, well, our guy John Fanta.
Fanta covers him.
Fanta's awesome.
I follow all his stuff.
He and I text all the time because he knows I'm obsessed with St. John's. They were ranked 11th, and then they beat Marquette, they were 12th. Marquette was 11th. They played
bunch
UConn
of top
Friday.
25 teams, UConn.
Yeah. And just the physicality of college basketball is to me. I mean, obviously the NBA is way better talent, and some of the shots in college are ugly. Like St. John's.
You're also a very nostalgic guy, so when you see like Georgetown playing against whatever,
UConn, Syracuse,
all these
and they beat each other up, and the refs kind of let them be physical. I love it. All right, Anthony.
Before we do that, real quick, shout out to Luka, who's watching the show right now, who sent me the basketball player advanced indexes on both Johnson and Hunter.
Yeah.
Just some percentiles and grades. Defensively, they're actually closer than I thought, but the Hawks' defense has been abysmal this year, so.
Torn him down a little bit.
Yeah, I think that brings his numbers down. But real quick, percentiles from their defense. Hunter, 73rd percentile in post defense, 46 as a secondary guy in a screen defense, and against screen and rolls, he's in the 55th percentile. 47th in help. This is just all kind of other stuff. And then Cam Johnson, for comparison, is in the 27th in post defense. So if he gets on a switch, it's not a place you want to be with him. But he's much better against the secondary help on a screen and in the actual
lost
screen.
From these numbers at this point.
Basically, Johnson's a better offensive player. Hunter's a better defensive player.
All right.
So I've never seen those before. That's kind of cool.
Okay. All right, we got a lot of super chats, so let's get to it.
Yeah, I got super chats here for you guys. From
Mike, who's usually trying to get us to the super chats, holding us up from super chats.
Yeah, he gets to be out on the panel. He forgets how the show works
I want
sometimes.
to shout out a fan who sent us some numbers.
Shout out to Luka. Go ahead.
Ben Thompson, we have good depth, but we cannot leave those guys out to dry against good teams. Boston was getting whatever switch they wanted last night, and other guys looked bad. Rotations felt weird last night.
They switch on defense. Kenny talked about it after I asked him if they considered not switching as much, and he said with Jared Allen on the court, we did some non-switching possessions, but when he's not on the court, we had to switch to keep guys in front. So that was his explanation.
Go ahead.
From Chris Fox, Al Horford kicked our ass like normal.
G. Bush has to stop talking crap about
He
guys.
didn't shoot that. He didn't shoot well.
But he has 10 points every time he
Yeah,
plays
he
the Cavs.
does.
And every time G. Bush says, I can't stand this player, he's a
Yeah.
bum.
He's
does
bad.
Just sit there and
G. Bush is a jinx right now.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I don't know. I don't believe in it, but go ahead.
From our friend Halim Youssef.
Yeah.
Tell
Where's
him,
he
Dustin,
been, Halim?
Hey, what's
Youssef?
up, man?
anything positive would be nice.
I'm excited about the baseball season. The Cubs this Sunday will become the first team to go to spring training. The Dodgers on Monday, and then the other teams like Wednesday and Thursday. So I can't wait.
Next up, Dontavius Winston, trade with the Patriots, then take Travis and Shedeur.
Why would the Patriots want Myles Garrett? I've seen a couple
Patriots
people.
not trading for Myles Garrett. Doesn't make any sense.
The Vrabel
They
connection.
suck.
People are going crazy with where Myles is going. I've seen Giants photoshops. I've seen Patriots photoshops.
Nobody's given up they'll get 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, but a team that's bad enough to be in the top 5 is not a Myles Garrett away from winning a Super Bowl.
No.
Go ahead.
Do you want to trade Myles Garrett in the AFC?
Preferably.
In?
Yes, to the NFC.
Do you want to trade him into the AFC? No.
I'm sorry.
You want to get him out
to
of
the
NFC?
NFC, yeah. I'd trade him to the Raiders if they're stupid enough to, because they suck. But I'm not trading him to any good team in the AFC, but preferably the NFC.
So the Bills, no.
No, not trading him to the Bills.
Sorry, Dustin.
Yeah. Go ahead.
From NP Barlow, Bull, give us the inside info on why you wanted Myles traded last week. I got to know.
You don't have to say anything.
You did this to yourself.
There's been some.
You don't win here, Bull.
What's that?
You don't win saying anything.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, I can't answer. I hate to. It's just. I just think it's time for him to move on.
Did you tease it too much? Did you say
Maybe
a little too much?
I don't know. Let's just keep it moving. Sorry, I can't.
From DB Dog 21, this AB hate all stems from Deshaun Watson. If Watson had worked out, AB would have been seen as a genius.
Yes.
Nobody knew. The Browns swung at a franchise QB and it didn't work.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
That's true. Now, AB would not have been looked at as a genius because to me at the time, and to a lot of us, a lot of people have pretended like they didn't. For most people, it seemed like a no-brainer at the time.
It was the right move.
Deshaun Watson had been an all-pro in Houston. Now, it's Andrew Berry's job to do as much due diligence on his mental state, which we don't have any ability to do. I don't know if he could have gotten enough information. Who knows? But it didn't work out.
Even if they would have won with Deshaun Watson, it still wouldn't have helped them. They still would have been a laughingstock to a lot of people because they would have been talked about in a negative way for how they got there and the person that they got there with.
Yeah, but you know what? If he had won,
Winning.
Ben
don't care.
Roethlisberger was a
Listen,
bad guy.
I don't care about that.
Nobody talks about that with Roethlisberger.
No,
Winning
that was
cures
one
all.
incident.
Winning cures all.
Yeah, that we know of. Go ahead.
All right, another one from DB Dog. No hype for pre-draft. Don't fall for the bad QB class narrative. If Kevin Stefanski identifies a QB and that can run his offense, they need to take him, period. Love him, but Myles alone won't make this a winning team.
It's true.
I agree.
That's fair.
I agree.
All right, from Captain Ameriquan, probably a dumb question, but hypothetically, if the Browns in 5 to 10 years from now become a dynasty like the Chiefs and Patriots, will you guys get tired of us winning Super Bowls consistently?
No.
No.
Not a chance.
Great content.
No. Do you listen to us talk about the Cavaliers? I mean, we love talking about the Cavs.
Yeah,
I mean,
no. If the
and
Browns
they've got
became
one
dynasty,
title.
it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Browns winning is good for business. For those people who say we're purposely being negative, which happens to every media member in Cleveland because the Browns are always bad, Browns winning is good for business. If nothing else, it's good for business.
It's also good for our mental health.
All of
Yes.
our biggest shows have been during the Browns' December win streak last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Mondays after they beat
Right.
teams. Every single one of
Any
our
more?
biggest shows.
I got one left for
Yeah.
you. Kevin Miller. So I got to do a little translating on this one, but I think he's saying sign Mo Bamba and release Porter Jr. He loves the kid, but we need another big, and Mo Bamba would be the tallest and the biggest.
Ba-la-la-la-bamba. Is he
Mo
any
Bamba
good?
has his own song, and you decided to sing a different song.
I didn't know he had his own song.
You never heard Mo Bamba?
You've heard Mo Bamba.
You've heard Mo Bamba.
If
You
you've
ever
watched a
watched
college football game, you've heard it.
What is Mo Bamba?
How's it go?
They actually wrote it for
can't
him?
Sing it right now. But
Yeah, they played it at the
Can you hum it?
played it every Penn State game.
The
Dun, 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 dun.
No.
That's not Mo Bamba.
That's not Mo Bamba.
No, we'll show you in overtime when we can't get sued.
Okay.
All right.
Fair
We'll see you in overtime for the
You've heard
ultimate
it.
Cleveland Sports Show.
See you
What's
later.
that?
You've heard it. Pull it up. Do you know what it is in New Jersey?